Chapter 211. A dark look flashed past Yun Noa's eyes. That was the only one Qin Yu had bought at an auction in our nation. Back then, she thought that Qin Yu would give it to her, but she didn't expect him to give it to Qin Youjiao. This also showed how much Qin Yu loved his sister. At this thought, Yun Noa concluded that Bai Yunj was too scheming and caused Qin Yu and Qin Youjiao to have a bad relationship. After all, they had been siblings for more than 10 years. At this thought, a smile appeared on Yun Noa's face. She bent down and said to Qin Youjiao, "Jiao Jiao, Sister Yun Noa will settle this for you. Just have fun." "Sister Yun Noa, you," Qin Youjiao frowned, looking very worried. "I'm from the Yun family. No one will say anything about you. No one can touch me." Hearing this, a strange glint flashed past Qin Youjiao's eyes. She did not tell Yun Noa that Bai Yunj was staying at Huashidu's place. Bai Yunj followed the street lights and strolled around the garden. Half an hour later, she returned to the banquet. At the same time, Yun Noa waited for about 10 minutes before she saw Bai Yunj. A trace of surprise flashed past her eyes. She had seen Bai Yunj before, but at that time, Bai Yunj gave people the feeling that she was introverted and gloomy, making people feel uncomfortable just by looking at her. However, she never thought that Bai Yunj would completely change her appearance now. "Miss Pai." After Yun Noa regained her senses, she walked up to Bai Yunj. "What's the matter?" Bai Yunj glanced at her, her tone lazy. She walked to the long table, took some food, and placed it on the plate. "I know that you've never liked Jiao Jiao, but no matter what, Jiao Jiao has lived with her 3 brothers for so many years." Yun Noa smiled and said, "You can't compare to her." Hearing this, Bai Yunj was not unhappy at all. Instead, she snorted. She glanced at Yun Noa calmly and raised an eyebrow, looking extremely charming. "I can't compare to her. Why are you still talking to me?" "For a moment." Promise Yun choked on her words, and her face turned red. She didn't expect Bai Yunj to speak like a completely different person. "What did you say to Qin Yu?" Bai Yunj glanced at her indifferently. She remembered that in the original novel, Qin Yu had indeed gotten together with Yun Noa in the end, so she couldn't be bothered to say anything. She slowly ate the dessert, but when Yun Noa saw this, her face darkened. She rarely met anyone who gave her such an attitude. Not long after, before Bai Yunj could pick up the steeped oolong tea, Yun Noa suddenly moved her elbow and bumped into Bai Yunj's hand. She knocked over the oolong tea that Bai Yunj had just picked up. Seeing this, Bai Yunj's expression did not change. Yun Noa smiled and poured a glass of water for Bai Yunj. "Drink some water. Isn't it good?" A moment later, Bai Yunj took the water from Yun Noa. At this moment, the smile in Yun Noa's eyes deepened. However, in the next moment, before Yun Noa could say anything, Bai Yunj suddenly raised the glass of water. She calmly met Yun Noa's gaze, her moist red lips curving. In an instant, a steady stream of warm water poured from Yun Noa's head to her tail. It made Yun Noa scream involuntarily. It also attracted everyone's attention. "Miss Yun, are you awake? If you're awake, take care of yourself in the future." Bai Yunj's eyes were filled with viciousness. If it was the people around Bai Yunj in her previous life, they would all know that although Bai Yunj liked to eat desserts, she had to have tea to relieve her boredom after the meal. Chapter 212. Yun Noa had hit the nail on the head at the right time. Bai Yunj? For the first time, anger surged in Yun Noa's chest. It kept hitting her rationality as she gritted her teeth and stared at Bai Yunj. At this moment, everyone saw that Yun Noa was drenched and standing in front of Bai Yunj in a sorry state. There was also a broken teacup on the ground. It was obvious that this was the prelude to a fight. However, Bai Yunj ignored Yun Noa's presence and walked to the side, drinking her tea slowly. Seeing this, everyone's interest was piqued. Was it that good? However, Yun Noa's expression was distorted. She was so angry that she wanted to raise her hand and teach Bai Yunj a lesson. This thought flashed through Yun Noa's mind. Soon, she really took a step forward and raised her hand. Suddenly. Yin Noa, what do you want to do? The man's deep voice was cold. Instantly, Yin Noa jumped in fright and turned to look at him instinctively. Qin Yu. I was the one who poured water on me first. Yin Noa bit her lip and looked at Qin Yu with red eyes. Qin Yu had never been fierce to her before. Qin Yu pursed his lips and walked to Bei Yunja's side without a word. His voice suddenly became gentle. Are you all right? Bei Yunja's eyelids moved and she saw the nervousness in Qin Yu's eyes. I'm fine. Qin Yu. I was bullied. Are you blind? Yin Noa's usual temper flared up and she shouted angrily. If it was before, no matter how unhappy Qin Yu was, he would only ignore her. However, at this moment, she saw Qin Yu slowly turn around, his eyes cold and distant. Stay away from Gu, in the future. Yin Noa's body froze, as if she was filled with coldness. I'm just teaching her for you. I don't really hate her, she explained immediately. Yin Noa was really afraid that Qin Yu would ignore her. Do I need you to teach me? Qin Yu chuckled carelessly, but his tone was sarcastic. At this moment, Yin Noa completely knew why Mrs. Qin and Qin Yojiao hated Bei Yunj so much. What right did she have to make Qin Yu protect her like this? Even if they were biological siblings, they were just strangers who had only met a few times. Qin Yu, didn't you realize that because of her, your relationship with your family is already bad? Qin Yu's arrogant eyes were filled with impatience. Are you done? If you're done, don't ever appear in front of me again. Qin Yu. How long have we known each other? How many times have you met her? Yin Noa, I'll say it again. I don't like you at all. Don't make me say anything more unpleasant. Let's leave some dignity for each other. Qin Yu rarely embarrassed the opposite sex in public. Although he looked cold and arrogant, he respected girls very much. But this time, Yin Noa had touched Qin Yu's reverse scale. Yin Noa looked at Qin Yu. Seeing that he did not care about their relationship at all, she could not help but tear up. She had never suffered such grievances in her entire life. Sister Yin Noa, why are you crying? Suddenly, Qin Yojiao and Cheng Zihuai came over. Qin Yojiao comforted Yin Noa and said softly, second brother won't really ignore you. Sister Yin Noa, it'll be fine in a few days. With that said, a dark look flashed past her eyes. She did not expect Qin Yu to return at this time. She did not expect Qin Yu to not even care about Yin Noa's face. Suddenly. Chapter 213. Hearing this. Yin Noa's face, which was already covered in tears, paled instantly. Qin Yojiao's expression also froze and her hand that was wiping Yin Noa's tears froze. A thought appeared in her mind. Was second brother doing this to slap her face? Qin Yu, I was wrong. Can you not be angry? Yin Noa regretted it in her heart, but she hated Bei Yunj even more for being doted on by Qin Yu. Even Qin Yojiao back then had never made her feel so unbalanced. However, at this moment, Yin Noa was even more afraid that Qin Yu would really refuse to appear on the screen with her. If that happened, their CP fans would definitely drop. They would also definitely sense Qin Yu's cold attitude towards her. You should apologize to my sister, not me. Qin Yu snorted, his tone cold. These words made Yin Noa's face turn red and pale. She was the elder young miss of the Yun family after all. Even if it was Qin Yojiao, she couldn't lower her head and apologize, let alone Bei Yunj. Suddenly. There's no need. Bei Yunj said slowly, Miss Yun, you just have to take care of yourself. Yin Noa gritted her teeth and looked at Bei Yunj angrily. However, when she felt Qin Yu's cold gaze, her expression changed immediately. It's Sister Yun's fault. Sister Yun will apologize to you. Yunj, can you forgive me? Bei Yunj's beautiful eyes relaxed and she looked bright and arrogant. No, Sister Yun. In an instant. The atmosphere was cold and silent. Yun Noa's expression was distorted. If Qin Yu wasn't beside Bei Yunj, Yun Noa wanted to rush up and tear Bei Yunj's face apart. Suddenly. Deskmate? A low and casual young man's voice rang out. Bei Yunj turned around and saw Lu Yuanxi wearing a black t-shirt and flip-flops. His hair was messy and fluffy as he appeared in front of her. The boy was tall and handsome. He didn't look sloppy at all. Instead, he looked lazy and cute. Bei Yunj suddenly remembered. Lu Yuanxi, the Lu family. No wonder the teachers in the school treated him like an ancestor. Yuanxi, who are you calling? An old lady with a clear voice appeared in front of everyone. Grandma, this is my deskmate. Lu Yuanxi glanced at old Madame Lu, then raised his chin towards Bei Yunj. Your deskmate? A woman? Old Madame Lu's heart skipped a beat. When she turned around and saw Bei Yunj clearly, she was even more shocked. Wasn't this the girl she had tried to blackmail last time? Didn't she still have a son and a very handsome and young husband? Bei Yunj, who met the old madame's gaze, was speechless. To think that there was such a fate. You're not that. That. Bei Yunj interrupted old Madame Lu with a smile. My name is Bei Yunj. I've met old Madame Lu before. This scene confused Qin Yu and the others. They did not know how the two of them had met. Only Lu Yuanxi rubbed the back of his head and suddenly remembered something. Last month, he had seen his grandma blackmailing a girl on the streets and wanted to introduce her to him. Suddenly, Lu Yuanxi's expression darkened. This old lady had even blackmailed Bei Yunj? Had she gone crazy from missing her granddaughter-in-law? Soon. Old Madame Lu roughly understood what was going on, but she was not angry. Instead, she was full of smiles. Yes, we've met before. The two of us are fated to meet. Chapter 2:14. Hearing this, everyone felt a little strange. What's wrong, old madam? Are you planning to acknowledge a granddaughter on the spot? Lu Yuanxi sneered slowly. Old Madame Lu almost couldn't maintain her smile. It was too difficult to get a granddaughter-in-law. This foolish grandson was so disappointing. At this moment, Mrs. Qin and the other madams, who did not know what was going on, walked over. When they saw old Madame Lu, a glint flashed past their eyes. She went forward to hold old Madame Lu's hand and said with a smile, Old madam, it's your birthday banquet today. Why are you outside in the cold wind? Let's go back to the living room quickly. With that said, Mrs. Qin glanced at Bei Yunj. After frowning slightly, she called out gently, Jiao Jiao, come and talk to your Grandma Lu. Okay, then let's go to the living room first. Old Madame Lu smiled. When she saw Qin Yojiao sitting in a wheelchair on the way, she frowned unconsciously. Jiao Jiao, what happened to your leg? It's nothing. I accidentally fell downstairs. Don't worry, I didn't hurt my bones. I'll recover in a week. Then you have to be careful in the future. It's not good to have a scar on a girl's leg. Old Madame Lu nodded and reminded her. In the living room. Whose daughter are you? Before Mrs. Qin and old Madame Lu could get close, old Madame Lu looked at Bei Yunj impatiently. It was obvious that she was very interested in Bei Yunj. However, when Mrs. Qin heard this, her expression froze and she glanced coldly at Bei Yunj with disgust. It was as if she was afraid that others would associate her with Bei Yunj. But who knew, me? Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows slowly and chuckled slowly. I live in an orphanage. Old Madame Lu's expression was pitiful. Oh, your parents are dead. Suddenly, Lu Yuanxi, who was eating spaghetti, covered his mouth and coughed lightly, choking. Everyone was speechless. What kind of suffocating scene was this? At this moment, old Madame Lu was still chatting enthusiastically with Bei Yunj, but she did not notice how terrible Mrs. Qin's expression was. Until Qin Yu returned from the washroom. Mrs. Qin's expression softened slightly and she said to Qin Yojiao with a coy smile, Jiao Jiao, did your second brother buy this bracelet for you when he went to country R? Yes. A coy expression appeared on Qin Yojiao's face and she could not help but look at Qin Yu again. This bracelet was made purely by hand. There's only one in the world. The lady beside her had a discerning eye. This bracelet is worth at least 20 to 30 million, right? Second young master really dotes on Miss Qin Yojiao. Many people present also noticed Qin Yojiao's last sentence. There was only one in the world. In that case, Qin Yu didn't give it to Bei Yunj and only gave it to Qin Yojiao? Everyone had different thoughts, but they all felt that this little princess who had been doted on by the Qin family for more than 10 years would not fall out of favor so easily. Yu doesn't come home often, but he's willing to buy things for his sister, Mrs. Qin said with a smile when she realized that she had achieved her goal. Instead of looking at Mrs. Qin, Qin Yu turned his head and chuckled. Why aren't you wearing anything at the banquet? Bei Yunja's eyebrows moved and she looked at Qin Yu. You haven't worn what second brother bought for you before. Qin Yu chuckled and took out an exquisite and beautiful necklace from his pocket. Chapter 2:15. Soon. Bei Yunj felt a cool touch in front of her collarbone. After Qin Yu put on the necklace for Bei Yunj, he let go of her hand calmly. Looking at Bei Yunj, his gaze was deep and gentle. My gu is very pretty. Suddenly, someone's knife and fork fell on the table, attracting the attention of many people. F***CK, sister, look at that necklace. Is it the Queen of Pozeebi's necklace? The baby-faced girl shook her sister's hand crazily. You must have seen wrongly, of course not. I studied jewelry design for nothing. This is definitely the real deal. I remember that there was a big brand that imitated this necklace and produced a custom-made product. It cost 40 million. The baby-faced girl looked excited. Hearing this, the rest of the people were stunned. Queen of Pozeebi's necklace? He remembered that 10 years ago, the last auction had been sold for more than 98 million. Today, it could only become more and more valuable. Is this very expensive? Bei Yunj furrowed her eyebrows. She remembered that Qin Yu had given the original protagonist this necklace before. However, she did not expect it to be so valuable. It's all right. Qin Yu smirked. The price of this necklace that Qin Yu had bid for was 160 million. After all, this was a real antique and had collectible value. Qin Yu remembered that he was still filming in Our Nation at that time. Because Qin Yojiao kept quarreling and insisted on getting a bracelet from an auction, he also went to bid for it. But because this bracelet was unique, Qin Yu remembered that he had a new sister at home and he wanted to prepare a gift for her. So, he secretly bid for this Queen of Pozeebi's necklace. After all, this was his first gift for his new sister. At this thought, Qin Yu's gaze on Bei Yunj became gentler. This might be the only thing he had done right in his previous life. When did second brother buy that necklace for Yunj? Qin Yojiao suppressed her emotions, but her eyes were red with jealousy and she felt even more indignant. This should have belonged to her. When Gu returned to the Qin family for the first time, Qin Yu's eyes turned cold calmly and he sneered. Hearing this, not only Qin Yojiao, even Mrs. Qin did not expect Qin Yu to give Bei Yunj such an expensive gift in private. Even for Qin Yojiao, the most expensive thing was the bracelet she was wearing today. In an instant, Qin Yojiao's face paled. She found this hard to believe. Bei Yunj touched the necklace in front of her collarbone, wondering why the original owner of her body didn't sell this thing. At this moment, old Madame Lu tugged at Lu Yuanxi's sleeve and asked curiously, what's the relationship between Gu, and the Qin family? Oh, the second lady on your left is the mother of my desk mate. Lu Yuanxi continued to eat his noodles. I don't want to. Suddenly, the back of Lu Yuanxi's head suffered a palm strike. Old Madame Lu was angry and annoyed. You rascal, why didn't you tell me earlier? This palm almost pressed Lu Yuanxi's head into the ground. Lu Yuanxi, what did this have to do with her? Don't poke your nose into other people's business. Lu Yuanxi furrowed his eyebrows. His deskmate was a barrel of explosives that could explode at any time. Was he tired of living if he went up to her now? Old Madame Lu despised and hated him. Is this brat's brain all used on gaming? Don't you have any feelings for Gu? Chapter 216. Old Madam, you just woke up too. Lu Yuanxi chuckled and continued to eat his noodles. The corners of Old Madame Lu's lips twitched. She suspected that their Lu family might have no descendants because of this little B** starred. If this little girl is abducted, you'll regret it. With that said, Old Madame Lu suddenly thought of the man who pretended to be Bei Yunja's husband last time. He was young and handsome and looked equally dignified. There's no hope. Old Madame Lu's eyelids twitched. Compared to that young man, Lu Yuanxi was indeed too different. Soon. Yu Hanran also brought Yu Manran to the living room. However, before Yu Hanran could find a seat and sit beside Bei Yunj, Qin Yu suddenly said gently. Hanran, I have something to talk to you about. Yu Hanran was perplexed. What was wrong with Qin Yu? Had he already forgotten that they were sworn enemies? Yu Hanran's eyelids twitched, but he still sat beside Qin Yu. He was about to speak. Are you, at least you know what's good for you. Qin Yu snorted. Yu Hanran was speechless. I know that my sister is good-looking and outstanding. It's normal for you to be moved. But you should control yourself. Qin Yu smiled and patted Yu Hanran's shoulder gently. A man can't help himself. This is called committing a crime. Seeing Qin Yu look like he was going to punish him personally at any time, Yu Hanran felt that it was ridiculous. Stop talking nonsense, Yu Hanran said immediately. Qin Yu asked, is my sister not good-looking? Yes. You don't like this kind of face? I do. Then can you control yourself? I can control myself. Before Yu Hanran could finish answering, he realized that this question was a trap. No matter how he answered, it would be like he was lusting after his sister. Qin Yu, are you deliberately finding trouble with me? Yu Hanran took a deep breath and looked at Qin Yu with a cold smile. Don't think that you can take advantage of me just because I don't have time to take care of Gu. Qin Yu refused to give up. His face was almost filled with, don't even think about it, dream on. However, Yu Hanran was confused. When did he show that he was interested in Bei Yunj? Now, Qin Yu was staring at him like he was a thief. Why do you think that I'm interested in your Gu? Yu Hanran put on a fake smile. If it weren't for the wrong occasion, he would have fought with this dog. You don't need to know. Qin Yu's eyes were arrogant and handsome. His tone was lazy with a faint sneer, but he was secretly sighing in his heart. He did not expect Master Du to treat him so well. Knowing that Yu Hanran was restless, he still remembered to ask Assistant Singh to remind him to be more vigilant. Sure enough, so many years of brotherhood were worth cherishing. Suddenly. Did Wuxia tell you? Yu Hanran thought about it. This was the only person who could fan the flames. Why? Are you feeling guilty? Qin Yu glanced at him. Yu Hanran's face twitched. Great, there's actually a thief calling out to stop the thief. Are you stupid? Yu Hanran couldn't help but scold. Yu Hanran, are you itching for a beating? Qin Yu's expression also darkened. Me? Qin Yu, take AF * king look. Do I look like someone who would steal your little cabbage? Yu Hanran laughed in anger. Qin Yu snorted. Yu Hanran, do you have some misunderstanding about yourself? At this moment. What are you talking about? Bei Yunj asked. Chapter 217. Nothing. Qin Yu and Yu Hanran pretended that nothing had happened. When Yu Manran saw this, he could tell at a glance that Qin Yu and Yu Hanran had a good relationship. Then I'll go back first. I still have something to do. Bei Yunj didn't like to stay in such a place. Then second brother will send you. Qin Yu said instinctively. No need. A chauffeur will pick me up later. In the eyes of outsiders, Bai Yunji's attitude was nothing, but Qin Yu could clearly feel that Gu Er's attitude towards him was still cold. Qin Yu's eyes darkened. Then, Gu Er, go back and rest early. Bai Yunji glanced at him. You too. Then, after greeting old Madame Lu, Bai Yunji turned and left. However, at this moment, Qin Yu's expression was happy. His eyes were dark and bright and the corners of his lips could not help but curl up. Was Gu concerned about him just now? After getting this understanding, Qin Yu decided to work hard so that Gu could accept him as her second brother again. Until he regained his senses. Qin Yu saw Yu Hanran raise an eyebrow and look at him with a gloating gaze. Did Qin Yu's usual intelligence lose all of it when it came to his sister? Eat more. Don't you like to eat cabbage? Qin Yu picked up a few cabbages for Yu Hanran in a friendly manner. Yu Hanran took a deep breath and chuckled soon. He really picked up his wooden chopsticks and ate the cabbage calmly. Your cabbage? King planted your cabbage in someone else's den and you're still afraid of being bitten? Although Yu Hanran was angry, he was still a person who liked to watch a show. He would not tell Qin Yu the truth. Looking at the current situation, he wanted to know if Master Du would take away Qin Yu's cabbage. At this thought, Yu Hanran glanced at Qin Yu gloatingly. He really wanted to know what expression Qin Yu would have if he saw Master Du personally poaching his cabbage. The grading speed of Hengda High School was very fast. The next afternoon, the papers were all distributed. Bai Yunji bit her straw and glanced at her 6 test papers. It was not surprising that she had scored more than 300 points. But she didn't expect Chu Zhixing's science results to be so good. Other than chemistry, where he lost 2 marks for one question, he scored full marks for the rest of the subjects. However, when Bai Yunji caught a glimpse of Chu Zhixing's English and Chinese papers, her eyelids twitched. Her science results were almost full marks, but her liberal arts results were not up to par. Master Pei, your Chinese and English are really good, Chu Zhixing said enviously. Bai Yunji looked at her Chinese and English scores of 70 to 80 points. She couldn't help but twitch her lips. She didn't know how to answer him. Very tall? Let me see. Lu Yuanci, who had just returned from playing basketball, heard Bai Yunji and Chu Zhixing discussing the results, and his eyes lit up. Language 78 marks, English 87 marks. When Lu Yuanci saw this, he couldn't suppress the smile on his face. Until he realized that Bai Yunji was looking at him with a faint smile. Lu Yuanci's smile disappeared and he patted Bai Yunji's shoulder. Don't be discouraged, desk mate. Although your scores aren't high, I can teach you. With that said, Lu Yuanci turned around with a refreshing smile on his face, only to see the English papers he was proud of lying flat on the table. The bold red 68-foot made Lu Yuanci's whole body stiffen. However, at this moment, Chu Zhixing spoke. Brother Lu, how many marks did you get in English? Chapter 218. Chu Zhixing guessed with an envious expression. 145? 146? Seeing that Lu Yuanci did not answer, Chu Zhixing thought that his guess was still too low and his expression became even more impressed. He did not expect Brother Lu to really be a hidden genius. At this moment, Bai Yunji happened to glance to the side and saw the clear 68-foot. Immediately, Lu Yuanci heard a soft laugh from the side, as if someone could not hold it in. Lu Yuanci looked at Bai Yunji expressionlessly and gritted his teeth. It must be a mistake. He grew up in our country, how could his score be so low? It was even lower than Bai Yunji's. Brother Lu? Before Chu Zhixing could ask, he was interrupted by Lu Yuanci. Shut up. At first, Chu Zhixing was confused until he saw the 68-foot on Lu Yuanci's paper. After a moment of silence, Chu Zhixing quietly put away his 66 paper, afraid that he would agitate Lu Yuanci. However, at this moment, Bai Yunji showed a rare trace of pity and comforted him. At least the total score is over 100. Lu Yuanci really wanted to curse. In class 1. Jiao Jiao, what kind of big boss are you? You're second in the cohort again. The girl could not help but be excited. I'm lucky. Qin Youjiao smiled. It was only when Ling Jiwei walked into class 1 that her eyes lit up. Jiao Jiao, I heard a teacher praising you in the office just now. You're second again and first in the liberal arts. Ling Jiwei teased, isn't it time to treat us? Every time we take an exam, you all find reasons to exploit me. Qin Youjiao said coquettishly. Who asked Jiao Jiao to be so amazing? At this point, Ling Jiwei suddenly remembered Bei Yunji's results that she had seen in the office just now, and a mocking look appeared in her eyes. Unlike someone who can't be helped by mud. Wei, are you talking about that Bei Yunji? Qin Youjiao was also quite popular with girls in class. The girls who often followed Qin Youjiao naturally didn't like Bei Yunji. Especially not long ago, Bei Yunji was ranked first in the Tieba forum for the most beautiful girl in school. Qin Youjiao's total votes were not even 1/5 of Bei Yunji's. Yeah, a total score of more than 300 points, 28th from the bottom of the grade. Ling Jiwei's tone was sarcastic and gloating. With these grades, I don't even know what university you can go to. Hearing this, a dark look flashed past Qin Youjiao's eyes as she heaved a sigh of relief in her heart. Ever since she saw Bei Yunji playing the piano at the Liu family's house yesterday, she had been feeling uneasy. She was afraid that there would be a change in her performance today. Fortunately, Bei Yunji's results were within her expectations. She couldn't be compared to her. She came from that kind of high school. It's normal for her not to adapt at first. Qin Youjiao smiled faintly. What do you mean? She was a bad student in her original high school, let alone in a school like ours. Ling Jiwei was smug. She wanted to see how Bei Yunji would be slapped in the face after finding out about Qin Youjiao's results. At noon, Bei Yunji received a call from Marcus. Yunji, someone wants to buy the licensing rights for our project. Do you know about the Delaney Group? Marcus was extremely excited. Before the patent was officially released, Delaney had already offered a sky-high patent fee. One could imagine how popular Bei Yunji's first project was. Chapter 219. Even the top technology group in our nation wanted to buy out Bei Yunji's project patent, as if they were afraid that she would sell it to someone else. However, Marcus did not expect that before he could be happy for long. Bei Yunji said slowly. I'm not selling it. Marcus was speechless. I say, little ancestor, do you know how much Delaney paid for this patent fee? A patent fee of 10 figures. Is my patent cabbage? Bei Yunji smiled faintly. Marcus was speechless. 10 figures. It's signed for 5 years, Bei Yunji said concisely. In her previous life, Bei Yunji's first project had won the top award in the industry. As a result, the most news about her on the internet was about her sky-high patent fee that was skyrocketing every year. This was really a big boss who dared to suck the blood of capitalists. However, the capitalists had a love-hate relationship with this big boss. At this moment, Marcus calmed down and quickly organized his words. He smiled carefully and said, but our project isn't completed yet. Delaney is interested in the prospects of our project, but it's hard to say if we can expand the market. Then we can let him wait for my project to finish. With that said, Bei Yunji added slowly, when the time comes, the fee will be doubled. Marcus's heart skipped a beat. He sucked in a breath of cold air and hurriedly said, okay. Then I'll talk to Delaney first. Okay. After Bei Yunji hung up the phone, she returned to class leisurely with her milk tea. However, Bei Yunji did not expect to see Chu Zhixing memorizing words alone. Have you eaten? Bei Yunji returned to her seat and asked. Chu Zhixing was caught secretly memorizing words. He looked a little shy and shook his head. Bei Yunji raised an eyebrow and said lazily, just nice. I don't want to drink anymore. With that said, Chu Zhixing saw the milk tea on the table. Thank you, Yunj. Chu Zhixing glanced at the girl who was playing with her iPad with her head propped up. He could not help but feel his heart warm. Why are you suddenly so interested in foreign languages? Bei Yunj asked casually. I want to apply for the summer camp at our nation's medical institute. I've always been interested in medicine, but, Chu Zhixing scratched his head. My language skills are not good. I can't even write an application form. A dark look flashed past Bei Yunj's eyes. She turned her head to look at Chu Zhixing. Let me see. Chu Zhixing was stunned for a moment. He then took out an application form for the medical institute and a handwritten application description and handed them to Bei Yunj. After reading Chu Zhixing's handwritten instructions, Bei Yunj said, actually, you don't have to apply. Chu Zhixing's science results were indeed excellent. He also had a lot of medical knowledge and had a lot of opinions. To be able to reach such a level at his age, he was indeed a good seedling. No. Chu Zhixing thought that Bei Yunj was planning to open the door for him, so he said nervously, why Yunj, forget it. I want to get in through my own efforts. I don't want to be looked down upon. From the medicine last time, Chu Zhixing roughly knew that Bei Yunj should know someone from our nation's research institute. However, there had always been a person in our nation's research institute who had been his idol. He did not want that person to think that he had gotten in through the back door. Who knew, however, Bei Yunj's eyes suddenly curved as she teased slowly, then who does little Chu want to be looked down upon? Chapter 220. Chu Zhixing's face flushed red. No, no one. It's not considered letting you in through the back door. Bei Yunj chuckled. She was planning to talk to Stephen about Chu Zhixing's handwritten application when she was free. As for whether he would accept it or not, it was all up to Stephen. Thank you very much, Yunj. But this application has a different meaning to me. I want to get his approval personally. Chu Zhixing smiled. Hearing this, Bei Yunj did not say anything. She only turned around and leaned on the table to take a nap. Until class started. Bei Yunj took out a blank piece of paper from the drawer. After pondering for a while, she started to write the entire page. Then, before Chu Zhixing came back with water, she casually put the paper into Chu Zhixing's English textbook and continued to sleep on the table. After school. Bei Yunj had just gotten into the car when she suddenly remembered the parent-teacher conference. Uncle Zhang, let's go to the Wuxia Corporation. Uncle Zhang nodded with a smile. Okay, Mississippi. Not long after, Bei Yunj sent Washidu another message. Brother, I'll wait for you at the company today. A minute or two later, Bei Yunj received a reply. Okay, I'll get Sing Su to bring you upstairs. Seeing this message, Bei Yunj smiled calmly. Half an hour passed. At the Wuxia Corporation. Sing Su saw Bei Yunj's figure from afar and immediately went forward to block the sun for Bei Yunj with a folder. Miss Pei, the sun is so strong. You have to bring an umbrella next time. Sing Su smiled. Thank you for your concern, Assistant Seng. After Bei Yunj and Sing Su walked into the company, she smiled brightly. Oh right, is Assistant Sing free next Friday? Sing Su's eyelid twitched and he had a bad feeling. Do you need my help with anything? I wonder if I can trouble Assistant Sing to hold a parent-teacher conference for me next Friday? When Bei Yunj smiled, her eyes were curved and her eyes were clear and harmless. However, when Sing Su heard this, he was scared out of his wits. What kind of joke was this? Holding a parent-teacher meeting for Miss Pei? Wouldn't Master Du bury him alive? That. Why doesn't Miss Pei try asking Master Du? Sing Su smiled fawningly. Master Du dotes on you so much, why would he reject your request? I'm afraid that my brother will be scolded if he goes. Bei Yunj blinked her clear and beautiful eyes and said honestly. Sing Su, so you want me to be scolded? Miss Pei, please spare me. How would I dare to be your guardian? Sing Su wanted to cry but had no tears. Bei Yunj. Then I'll think of another way. Since she had left the Qin family, she certainly wouldn't let the Qin family hold a parent-teacher conference for her. However, she had just taken over this body not long ago, so she did not know many people. Looking for Elder Zhong? Letting an extremely famous researcher sit in her classroom and be scolded did not sound like something a human would do. Looking for Yumanran? He would be at the top of the headlines the next day. As for Marcus, who was far away overseas, that was even more unrealistic. Bei Yunj, who was thinking about this problem, unknowingly pushed open the door of the president's office. "You're here?" A man's deep voice sounded. "Yes." Bei Yunj reacted and placed her backpack on the coffee table. Immediately after, she saw a slender and good-looking hand holding a bottle of milk and placing it in front of her. "Yun, play by yourself first. I have a meeting to attend later." Chapter 221. Bei Yunj looked at the milk that seemed to have been specially prepared for her, and her pretty eyes moved unconsciously. "Got it." She reached out to take the milk. Seeing this, the man chuckled softly and only left the office when someone outside reminded him. However, not long after, Bei Yunj pushed her homework aside and took out her iPad to check on the follow-up of her 2 interns' projects. Suddenly, Bei Yunj received several messages from Yumanran. "Qin Yojiao wants to enter the entertainment industry? I heard that she's planning to sign a contract with your second brother's personal studio. Is this woman manipulating public opinion for the sake of convenience in the future? I've already seen the company's marketing accounts clearing her name. Smile, are you there?" After reading these messages, Bei Yunj raised an eyebrow slightly. Indeed, she did not expect Qin Yojiao to choose to enter the entertainment industry at this time. According to the original novel's development, Qin Yojiao should have entered the entertainment industry after graduating from university. Then, Bei Yunj moved her fingers lightly and typed a paragraph of text. "The new song is pretty good. Practice your high notes well this month. The next new song will be the one that made you famous." At this moment, Yumanran, who was drinking water backstage, choked and coughed violently as his eyes widened in disbelief. "Sister man, can you not look like a young girl in love? Why are you staring at your phone and smiling foolishly? What if the paparazzi take photos of you?" The manager's eyelids twitched uncontrollably. She really did not expect Yumanran to be so lucky to meet a benefactor in a bar. This new song made Yumanran's popularity surpass several popular A-list female celebrities. If the next song could still be so popular, Yumanran would definitely jump into the ranks of the A-list celebrities this year. "I was chatting with just now. We were talking about a new song." Yumanran was a little weak. His recent popularity had already made Yumanran feel that it was unreal. And Bei Yunj's words just now made Yumanran feel like he was dreaming. The manager was suddenly even more agitated than Yumanran. "What did she say to you?" Yumanran's eyelids twitched. He turned to look at her and said, "She told me to practice my high notes properly. My next song will be the one that will make me famous." If someone else had said something like this, she might have thought that the person was bragging. But Bei Yunj was different. That new song had only been released for less than a week, but it had already dominated all the charts in the country. Recently, the popularity of his new songs overseas had also been rising. There were even well-known singers who adapted and covered the song. In this situation, even she felt that this song was enough for Yumanran to earn a lifetime of dividends. However, Bei Yunj even told Yumanran that the next song would be Yumanran's masterpiece. The manager felt goosebumps all over her body. Man, did your ancestors accumulate virtue for 18 lifetimes? How could such a lucky thing happen to her? Yumanran said frankly, "I'm starting to think so too." The manager was speechless. However, Yumanran still couldn't help but worry. Qin Yojiao's motive for entering the entertainment industry was definitely not that simple. What if she was planning to use her identity as an artiste to step on Bei Yunj, in the villa? Qin Yu had just taken a shower when he saw his manager's serious expression. What's wrong? He looked up. Miss Chin signed up for our studio. Chapter 222. What? Chin Yu's handsome eyes were like thick ink as the corners of his lips curled up slightly. Was Chin Yojiao crazy? Miss Chin wants to enter the entertainment industry. Logically speaking, staying with her brother would be more. She would feel more at ease. Before the manager could finish speaking, he felt Chin Yu's cold gaze and shut up instinctively. My younger sister only has Biyao. Don't forget it. Chin Yu snorted. Get rid of this person in the first round. If she appears in my studio, then I'll get rid of you. Do you understand? Hearing this, the manager felt a chill run down his spine and nodded hurriedly. Brother Yu, don't worry. I won't let her in. At the same time, the manager could not understand why Chin Yu had changed his attitude towards Chin Yojiao. In the past, although Chin Yu did not come home often, it was obvious that he doted on Chin Yojiao. However, what he was sure of now was that the newly returned Miss Pei had completely become the person Chin Yu was most nervous about. At the Hua Corporation, Biyao twirled the pen in her hand and slowly did her homework. Suddenly, the door was pushed open gently and a coquettish voice sounded. Is Assistant Singh here? Biyao did not even look up as she said casually, no. However, hearing the reply, the smile on the female secretary's face froze. It was obvious that she did not expect there to be a woman inside. She had been in the company for almost 3 months and had found out that President Hua was not close to women. Even the staff around him were all men. But what was with this voice in the office? After some thought, the female secretary could not help but push the door open and enter. But what he didn't expect was to see a bright and beautiful girl sitting by the coffee table doing her homework. She was stunned for a moment before she smiled and said, Are you President Hua's younger sister? Biyao's pen stopped. She did not expect her to come in. Her red lips curved and she looked even more charming, but her words were ambiguous. If that's the case, then you can say so. These words made the female secretary's smile freeze. What did this girl mean? Alarm bells rang in the female secretary's heart. Did President Hua agree to miss being here? The female secretary seemed to treat herself as a regular here. At this moment, Biyao didn't answer her question. She just bit her straw and wrote the question slowly. However, seeing that Biyao didn't say anything, the secretary thought that Biyao was guilty. Little girl, are you President Hua's friend's little sister? The female secretary was a little smart. She knew that Biyao wouldn't be able to enter this office building if she didn't have a high status. But, little girl, you probably don't know that President Hua doesn't like women in his office, the female secretary said again. Upon hearing this, Biyao looked up and sized her up. The female secretary was wearing a suit skirt that was cut short to her thighs. Her legs in black stockings were especially sexy. So, shouldn't you go out? Biyao raised her eyebrows and looked at her calmly. There was no warmth in his eyes, which inexplicably made the female secretary a little flustered. I'm here to look for Assistant Seng. I have some work matters to hand over. On the other hand, isn't it inappropriate for Miss to be doing homework here? Why don't I bring you to the reception room? Chapter 223. Biyao glanced at this troublesome woman and then glanced at the phone screen. They will be back in 3 minutes. Why aren't you leaving? Miss, please come out with me. As an employee, I have to do my best for my boss. The female secretary did not believe that this girl really knew when Master Du would be back. If he really came back in 3 minutes, would she dare to sit here? What if I don't go out? Biyao leaned lazily against the sofa. Her black curly hair was spread out casually, but her eyes were soul-stirring. Even as a woman, she could feel how seductive this girl was. The female secretary gritted her teeth and deliberately scared her. Miss, you don't want me to ask the security guards to ask you to leave, do you? A young lady with such a good family background should be the most afraid of losing face. Miss Secretary, did you misunderstand something? Biyao suddenly smiled. Hearing this, the female secretary could not help but walk towards Biyao. She thought that Biyao was afraid and was about to give in. What did you misunderstand? The female secretary waited for Biyao to explain clearly. Unexpectedly, Biyao suddenly stood up. Biyao leaned close to her ear and said in a clear tone, "I'm not your president's sister. I'm his child bride." Hearing this, the female secretary's legs almost went weak. She had heard that many wealthy families groomed outstanding wives for their heirs. But in this era, very few people did so. Then, before the female secretary could retort, the man's light voice suddenly sounded from the door. "Yun, what are you doing?" Wuxia had just pushed open the door when he saw this young lady's eyes crinkling. He did not know what she said to the woman beside her, but that woman's expression changed drastically. This child was making a fuss again. When Biyao saw that Wuxia had returned, she sat back on the sofa and looked at the female secretary again with a smile. The female secretary did not expect Biyao to be telling the truth. President Hua actually came back at this time. She was flustered, especially when she met Wuxia's cold eyes. President Hua, who let you in?" The man's tone was still cold and indifferent, but the oppressive feeling around him sent chills down her spine. The secretary's pretty face turned pale, and she subconsciously looked at Biyao who was sitting on the sofa. She gritted her teeth and pointed at Biyao. "I'm here to look for Assistant Seng, but I didn't expect to see this lady in your office. That's why I thought of a way to get her to move to another place, to stay." The female secretary's voice became softer and softer. She knew that she must have offended Wuxia this time. She could only make this man soften his heart a little with her red eyes. "Is Tsing Su the owner of this office? Are you looking for him here?" Wuxia's gaze swept over her indifferently. He walked straight to his desk and pressed a few buttons on the landline. Soon, Tsing Su arrived. "Master Du." When Tsing Su saw a pretty female secretary appear in Wuxia's office with red eyes, he immediately realized what was going on. These women really dared to praise him. Before everyone entered the company, they were warned not to enter the president's office. However, every year, there would be people who thought that they were exceptions and could gain Master Du's favor. How stupid! Tsing Su cursed in his heart. He knew that Master Du would blame him again. Chapter 224. Is this the person you've interviewed? The man's pair of lustful eyes were dangerous and deep. Tsing Su quickly lowered his head. "Master Du, I didn't take good care of the newbie. Get her out." Wuxia's casual words made Tsing Su wonder if he had heard wrongly. However, when his gaze landed on the person on the sofa, he seemed to have understood something. It turned out that there was a life-saving talisman. Tsing Su took a deep breath and looked at the newbie with an unpleasant expression. "Who let you in?" The female secretary bit her lip and glanced at Biyao, who was sitting on the sofa. Her face immediately turned red and pale. She felt the difference in status between her and this girl sitting on the sofa. "I'm here to look for you," the female secretary cried. When Tsing Su heard that the female secretary still dared to push the matter to him, he suppressed his anger with a fake smile. "You came to the president's office to look for me?" The female secretary, get out," Tsing Su reprimanded with a dark expression. The female secretary looked at Wuxia unwillingly. In the end, her gaze landed on Biyao. She did not believe that this girl's words were true. In the next moment, the female secretary left with Tsing Su. "What were you talking to someone about just now?" After they left, Wuxia sat on the sofa again and glanced at Biyao's one-page homework. "I was helping brother." Biyao's tone was calm, but her eyes were clear and seductive. Wuxia let out a long laugh. His well-defined hand slowly tugged at his tie lazily and ostentatiously. "What did Yun help brother with?" Brother has a lot of love affairs. Bei Yunj looked at Huashidu's noble and handsome appearance and her eyes curved. If I cut them off, will brother's heart ache? The man's magnetic voice was low and flirtatious. He pinched Bei Yunj's face casually. How would I dare, little kid? There was a hint of indulgence in his casual flirtatious tone. The only thing Bei Yunj could see was the mole on the tip of her throat. She was emboldened. Brother, come closer. Let's discuss something. What is it? Huashida's eyes were faint, but the corners of his upturned eyes were charming. When he lowered his eyes, his posture was so intimate and sexy that it made people blush. In fact, on the way, Tsing-su told him about the little guy's parent-teacher conference. However, at this moment, Huashidu looked at Bei Yunj in front of him thoughtfully, as if he was thinking about something. Brother, seeing this, Huashidu raised his eyebrows. He did not expect Bei Yunj to be so hesitant because of the parent-teacher conference. However, Huashidu soon realized that this young lady was clearly so bold that she was not afraid of the consequences. Suddenly, her fair and slender hand directly touched the mole on the man's Adam's apple. Huashidu's gaze quickly turned dark and aggressive. He immediately grabbed that lawless hand. Bei Yunj saw the mole move along with the man's sexy Adam's apple. It made her heart tremble. Then, she looked up and sensed a dangerous emotion in the man's eyes. It was almost indiscernible. Bei Yunj, she had gone overboard. The man licked his thin red lips, his gaze fixed on her. His low and hoarse laughter tickled her eardrums. It was so sexy and made her heart itch. The darkness in his eyes made her legs go weak. Child, why are you being a hooligan? Chapter 225. Bei Yunj's brain froze. She could not calm down when she saw this scene. The man looked at her angrily and amusedly. He did not know where this young lady got the courage to touch his Adam's apple. After sorting out his emotions, Huashidu leaned closer and rubbed his fingers against her face intimately. His low and magnetic voice was ambiguous and ostentatious. Do you want to see how bad I am? The light in the man's eyes was hidden. His evil and lustful demeanor made one's heart tremble. As soon as he finished speaking, the female secretary, who had pretended to come back to get something and was still unwilling to give up, happened to see this scene clearly. Her pupils constricted. President Hua, at this moment, Tsing-su arrived very quickly. Huashidu had just turned to look when he heard him reprimand her. Yu Qianya, since you're restless in the headquarters, transfer to another post now. Tsing-su's expression was ugly. He did not expect this woman to be so stupid and scheming. Suddenly, Huashidu, who had not cared much about this matter, spoke. There's no need to transfer. When the female secretary heard this, she was overjoyed. She thought that Huashidu was starting to take pity on her. However, in the next moment, the man's tone was indifferent and still unreasonable. The Hua Corporation doesn't need such an employee. In an instant, the female secretary's face turned pale. She did not expect to end up in an even worse state. President Hua, I am just here to look for something. The female secretary was incoherent and felt cold all over. She did not expect Huashidu to fire her directly. Tsing-su, are you taking the company's year-end bonus to retire in the company? The man sneered. Tsing-su. Master Du, I was wrong. I'll deduct this year's year-end bonus. If there are any employees who don't abide by the dress code next time, they will all be fired. Huashidu's heartless words made Tsing-su's scalp tingle. Yes, Master Du, please continue with your work. I'll handle the rest. After speaking, Tsing-su glanced at the female secretary bitterly. He was prepared to transfer this group of slightly good-looking people who wanted to seduce the president. He wanted to prevent all actions that would harm his year-end bonus next year. After Tsing-su sent them away, Bei Yunj watched as Huashidu walked to his desk and prepared to work. She could not help but ask, Brother, are you angry? Hearing this, Huashidu glanced at her slowly and did not say anything. so that she wouldn't dare to touch anyone's Adam's apple in the future. Brother? At some point, Biyao had dragged a chair and sat across from him. She rested her chin on her hand and smiled as she watched Wuxia review the documents. Biyao leaned on the desk again and said with a smile, "Brother, but I don't have an Adam's apple for you to touch." The man's strokes were smooth and flowing. Suddenly, Biyao's red lips curled up again. There seemed to be light in her eyes and her clear voice sounded like it could melt one's bones. Brother Shidu, the elegant and noble man's upturned eyes narrowed, but the ink in his hand was dizzy and almost fell. He slowly raised his eyes and looked at the little girl who was about to turn into a spirit. He couldn't do anything to her and laughed softly. Wuxia reached out with his slender hand and gently tapped her smooth forehead with the pen cap. His seductive and magnetic voice was filled with a smile as he casually imitated her tone. "Don't be coy. Brother Shidu can't take it." This seductive look was simply too alluring. Even Biyao's heart beat faster when she saw this scene. She suddenly stood up, turned around, and walked to the coffee table to do her homework. Chapter 226. Seeing that the girl did not even raise her head, Wuxia smiled silently and continued to read the documents in his hand. The next day, Chu Zhixing held the handwritten translation document in his hand and took a long time to confirm that this was the translation of his application instructions. In the entire class, only Biyao knew that he was going to write this. However, what made Chu Zhixing incredulous was that this time, he had written a lot of medical terms in the instructions seriously. Biyao was actually able to complete this instruction in school. It did not seem to have taken much time. Chu Zhixing suppressed the surging emotions in his heart and thought of Biyao's foreign language marks. With such a level of translation, how could it only be 87 marks, instantly? Chu Zhixing felt that he seemed to have unknowingly found out something incredible again. They were still in math class. The teacher slammed the podium and woke up the students who were sleeping. "Why aren't you listening to the test paper this time? You're at the bottom again, your class is at the bottom again. It's 10 marks lower than the average score of class 6. The math teacher was furious and pointed at the fill-in-the-blank question on the paper. The marking teacher said that only one person in the entire grade got the third question of the fill-in-the-blank question right. Don't you know the difference? Suddenly, Lu Yuanci said faintly, "It's luck." Luck? Then why didn't such a good thing happen to you? The math teacher hated the students in this class the most. They thought that they had a good family background and did not need to study seriously. Each one was more useless than the other. "It didn't happen to me, but it didn't happen to my desk mate." Lu Yuanci glanced at Biyao who only got the 3 fill-in-the-blank questions right, and his gaze became even more distant. He scored 28 marks in math, and Biyao scored 30 marks. This fill-in-the-blank question was worth 2 marks each. The math teacher was speechless. The other students could not hold back their laughter. No way, right? No one in class 1 and class 2 got it right, but someone in our class got it right? The boy's tone was exaggerated. Aya, sometimes, luck can really cause a gap. This chorus almost made the math teacher's face turn green. In the back row, Lu Yuanci whispered, "This might not be luck. If one were to take a closer look at Biyao's test papers, one would realize that Biyao's test papers only had 8 correct answers and 2 correct fill-in-the-blank questions. The scribbles at the back were all wrong. Only the chemistry teacher was soft-hearted and gave Biyao 2 points for her hard work. So what if you got this question right? Can someone from your class get full marks for the college entrance examination?" The math teacher slammed the table. Subsequently, amidst the silence, Chu Zhixing muttered again for some reason, "It's not impossible." Everyone, ever since Chu Zhixing started hanging out with Biyao, not only did he dare to scold his classmates, he even dared to scold his teachers now. Biyao was really something. However, everyone thought about it and realized that Chu Zhixing wasn't wrong. Chu Zhixing only lost 2 marks on his math paper. Bei Yunj was the only one who scored on the third question. Thinking about it, this was the only question Chu Zhixing didn't answer correctly. The math teacher's face darkened. Chu Zhixing, don't, suddenly. Bei Yunj suddenly curled her lips and clapped. Her voice was lazy. Well said. After that, Lu Yuanci also clapped very respectfully. Even the classroom was filled with applause. Those who didn't know better would think that they were carrying out some mysterious and grand ceremony. Chapter 227. Seeing this situation, the mathematics teacher swallowed the words that he was about to say to Chu Zhixing. Immediately, he looked at Bei Yunj with an ashen face and said in a cold voice, Bei Yunj, don't think that. Thank you for teaching me well. Otherwise, how could little Chu be so courageous? This applause is for you. Please keep up the good work. Bei Yunj's appearance was languid, but her clear eyes only made people feel that she was sincere. The mathematics teacher was about to scold her when he forcefully swallowed back his words. His face turned green and red. In the end, he could only take a deep breath and say, continue the lesson. Seeing this scene, many students looked at Bei Yunj with admiration. A refined person was really different. However, Lu Yuanci glanced at Bei Yunj. How could he not know that she was trying to protect Chu Zhixing? The mathematics teacher had a bad temper and liked to taunt his students. It was said that the last batch of students he taught almost committed suicide because of this. After school, Bei Yunj received a phone call. Unexpectedly, the person who called her was the director of Yunqing Hospital. Miss Pei, there's something I have to tell you. Your family has invited Dr. Fang Gushing to come over for treatment. Do you know about this? The director asked carefully. He did not forget that Zhong Xinglin had said that his security system, which had been modified by Bei Yunj, was worth more than 10 million yuan. He should indeed tell Bei Yunj about this. What? The light in Bei Yunj's eyes suddenly turned cold. Didn't they say that that person did not leave the city at will? That was why Mother Qin had persuaded old Master Qin to go to the neighboring city for the surgery. It seems that your mother gave him an expensive consultation fee, so Dr. Fang made an exception and came here. The director paused and said, however, you don't have to worry too much. Dr. Fang is indeed an expert in this field. When did he go over? The director said, yesterday. The surgery was scheduled for tomorrow. Bei Yunj's eyes flashed coldly, and his indolent tone also turned cold. Dean, can I trouble you with something? Miss Pei, please speak your mind. Naturally, the hospital director did not want to offend someone like Bei Yunj. To have such achievements at such a young age. If he were to grow up in the future, he would definitely amaze everyone. Don't let Dr. Fang perform the surgery. Bei Yunj's tone was neither fast nor slow. However, when the director heard this, he almost couldn't react. Miss Pei, he is one of the top experts in the country. The hospital director could not figure out what Bei Yunj was thinking. Since Bei Yunj had dealt with the anti-fan personally for old Master Qin's sake, she was definitely not someone who did not care about old Master Qin's life. I know, but my father's life is too precious. I can't accept any accidents. Bei Yunj smiled, but there was no warmth in her eyes. Tomorrow, the doctor I arranged will contact you and prepare for the old man's operation. It took a while for the president to react. Okay. I will listen to Miss Pei. After hanging up the phone, the hospital director was in a daze for a long time. He could not understand why everyone in the Qin family thought that Bei Yunj was ignorant and incompetent. However, what made him even more emotional was that old Master Qin, who had dominated the business world for so many years, was actually willing to put his life in the hands of a young girl. Chapter 228. After that, Bei Yunj called old Master Qin again and told him not to accept other surgeries. Old Master Qin, who loved his grandson as much as his life, naturally agreed without hesitation. In the evening, after Stephen saw Bei Yunj's message, he called. Yunj? What happened? Someone found a doctor for my grandfather. The moment Biyao said this, Stephen's temper rose uncontrollably. He chuckled in disbelief. In this day and age, there's actually someone who dares to snatch patients from me? I might need you to talk to the director of the hospital tomorrow so that they'll be more assured. Stephen replied, no problem. I'll get my assistant to contact that hospital then. Oh right. Don't worry, Yunj. I'll be able to go to Yunqing this Saturday. So soon? Biyao was a little surprised. There happens to be an academic lecture. The higher-ups want me to come into contact with the new talents in your country. Stephen was smug. Wasn't it just a medical dispute with some stinky money? Did he really think he could do anything to him? At the mention of this, Biyao's lips suddenly curled up. Okay, then I'll see you on Saturday. After hanging up the call, Stephen was elated and was already typing a message, planning to provoke Marcus. He asked him to sign Biyao and he kept showing off. In the end, he was still the first to see Biyao. At this moment, Marcus, who was sleeping in, had no idea that he had already fallen into a situation where there was a wolf in front and a tiger behind him. In the hospital. Early in the morning, Mrs. Qin stood at the door of the ward with a livid expression. Beside her, Qin Yojiao was holding her arm. Mom, don't be angry. The director didn't want to arrange it this way. Qin Yojiao's words seemed to be smoothing things over for the director, but in fact, she was directing the anger at Biyao. Even the director could not help but glance at Qin Yojiao meaningfully. Mrs. Qin, don't be agitated. Miss Pei has her reasons for making such an arrangement, the director said. Mrs. Qin laughed coldly. What reason can she have? She wants the Qin family to be in chaos so that she can be happy. Mrs. Qin, even if you don't like your daughter, you shouldn't say that. The school head disagreed. Mother Qin knew that the director of Yun City Hospital was highly respected. Then, she said to him, back then, my father-in-law made a will. If he passed away, most of the benefits in the family would be given to her. Director, how could a naive girl have so many ideas to go against her parents? These words were very obscure. However, the dean could also tell that Biyao wanted to kill old Master Qin for the inheritance. Mrs. Qin, although you're Miss Pei's biological mother, she still has the right to sue you for slander. The head of the hospital's expression turned cold and this tough attitude stunned Mrs. Qin and Qin Yojiao. Biyao had only met the director a few times. Why was even the director blindly helping her? Director, that's not what my mother meant. I hope you can understand that my mother is concerned about my grandfather's feelings. Qin Yojiao's eyes were helpless. After all, Yunja's actions are indeed very unacceptable. Dr. Fang is already one of the top experts in the country. I don't know why she insisted on finding a doctor herself. The director was also an understanding person. After hearing this, he could not help sneering in his heart. They were both daughters, but one was doted on, while the other was a true genius that no one had discovered. Chapter 229. How far did the Qin family want to go? They left their treasures at home and even hugged a rock and said it was beautiful. The dean's impression of this family was getting worse and worse. He said coldly, have you ever thought that maybe Miss Pei doesn't care about the Qin family's assets at all? With Biyao's ability, if she really wanted to take over the Qin family, she didn't have to hurt old Master Qin at all. After all, this was someone Zhong Xinglin wanted to get to know. But, before Mrs. Qin could finish speaking, the dean interrupted her. Old Master Qin has already agreed to this and signed a written agreement. Even if Dr. Fang arrives, I can't let him perform the surgery. After that, the dean left without even looking at him. This scene made Mrs. Qin's face turn red and livid. Mom, don't be angry. You were too impulsive last time and made such a statement. Everyone will be biased towards her. Qin Yojiao said softly. Mrs. Qin lost control of her emotions and her eyes were frighteningly red. Back then, I shouldn't have agreed to let them look for Bei Yunj. Hearing this, a dark glint flashed past Qin Yojiao's eyes and she didn't say anything. Suddenly. Student Qin? Qin Yojiao and Mrs. Qin turned around and saw Fang Gishing's dark expression. Haven't you arranged it yet? Mrs. Qin, although I came to Yunsheng because of student Qin, I'm very busy. Hearing this, Mrs. Qin hated Bei Yunj even more, but she could only explain anxiously, Dr. Fang, I'm sorry. My mother had already discussed this with the dean, but because someone else in the family recommended it, another doctor also wants to treat my grandfather. Hearing this, Fang Gishing felt that it was ridiculous. He sneered with a cold expression. Even I have a 30% to 40% chance of failure for this kind of surgery. Other doctors? I'd like to see who's so confident. Qin Yojiao pretended to hesitate. That doctor doesn't seem to be here yet, preposterous. His expression was livid as he went upstairs. I want to know who is so extravagant. Fang Gishing was one of the top specialists in the country. In the past few years, he had indeed never encountered such treatment. Now, a person who hadn't even shown up was able to snatch away his patient. Was he treating him like a young doctor who had just made his debut? At this moment, could something have happened? Mrs. Qin frowned. Qin Yojiao laughed as a strange glint flashed past her eyes. Mom, it's not easy for you to pressure the head of the hospital, but Dr. Fang is not someone to be trifled with in their circle. It would be best to let Fang Gishing suppress the doctor hired by Bei Yunj. When the time comes. After the surgery, old Master Qin still remembered her good points. The office. Not too long after Principal Zhang returned, he brewed a cup of chrysanthemum tea to cool down. However, when he turned around and saw the email on the computer, he was stunned. Wait a minute. Who sent this email? The dean almost doubted if he had seen wrongly. Meanwhile, the office door was suddenly pushed open, and even the sound was mixed with anger. The director jumped in fright and turned to see Fang Gishing's furious face. Dr. Fang, I've heard a lot about you. Is it the rule of a private hospital that you don't have to knock? Suppressing his anger, the director smiled insincerely. Chapter 230. Explanation? What explanation? The hospital director drank his chrysanthemum tea expressionlessly. Old Mr. Qin is my patient. If your hospital doesn't let me treat him, do you not take human life seriously? Fang Gishing's tone was mocking. The hospital director smiled. Of course not. It's just that old Mr. Qin signed an agreement. This operation can only be carried out if his granddaughter, Bei Yunj, agrees. Isn't Qin Yojiao his granddaughter too? How would I know? Maybe the old man thinks Miss Pei is more sensible. With that said, the hospital director poured a cup of chrysanthemum tea slowly. Dr. Fang, have a cup of tea to cool down. Fang Gishing laughed coldly. Director, I don't want to beat around the bush with you either. Since I'm in Yunsheng, I have to be responsible for this patient. From what I know, Miss Pei is not even 20 years old and was cut off the moment she returned home. I really can't trust such a person's social relationships. Fang Gishing had only been told by Qin Yojiao that Bei Yunj used to live in an orphanage and cut off her relationship with Mrs. Qin when she came back. He knew nothing else. Dr. Fang, is this the only solution? The hospital director's gaze turned cold. At this moment, Fang Gishing seemed to have suddenly remembered something and said with a smile, how about this? I'll give the hospital director some face. Since Miss Pei is confident that the doctor she hired is better than me, you have to let me know who it is. Hearing this, the hospital director fell into deep thought. He could not figure out who Bei Yunj could get to treat him. Why? Are you unwilling? As the living Buddha in the patient's mouth, you won't fool around with a little girl, right? The hospital director took a deep breath and glanced at Fang Gishing, who was determined to bite the bullet. In the end, he could only agree. At the same time, the phone in the hospital director's office rang. Hello, Director Hu. I'm Miss Bei Yunge's attending physician assistant. Is it convenient for you to answer a video call? Oh, sure. The hospital director was a little dazed. He did not expect this mysterious doctor to come looking for him. But at the same time, he was a little nervous. He did not know who the Dr. Bei Yunge would be. After all, logically speaking, Fang Gishing was indeed the most suitable person to operate on Old Master Qin. Miss Pei's attending physician requests a video call. Dr. Fang, do you want to come with us? The director asked. Frowning, Fang Gishing could only acquiesce. Video conference? He wondered what this person was up to. Did he know whose patient he had accidentally stumbled upon? Fang Gishing had a mocking expression on his face. He had already thought of how to mock this person. A short while later. It wasn't until the director turned on the projector used for video conferences that the two of them looked up and suddenly saw a figure eating instant noodles. The one who spoke was a very young voice. Hello? Dean Hu, can you see me? The corner of the dean's mouth twitched. Beside him, Fang Gishing sneered. Where did this random doctor come from? She was having a meeting while eating instant noodles? Why don't you finish your noodles first before we talk? The dean asked. I didn't eat noodles. After the assistant finished speaking, he turned his head and asked, who's eating noodles in the institute? Meanwhile, Stephen, who was eating instant noodles, shuddered. He slowly raised his head and saw the camera aimed at him. Stephen cursed. Bastard, who are you pointing the camera at? Stephen picked up his book, pressed down on the lid of the instant noodles, and got up to slap her. Chapter 231. When he saw Stephen's twisted expression, the hospital director knew that this conversation would not go on for the time being. Fang Gishing couldn't help but sneer. Is this the medical team Miss Pei found? Could it be that Miss Pei spent some money casually and found some random team overseas? The hospital director frowned when he heard these harsh words. However, before he could retort, the hospital director suddenly felt that the person eating the instant noodles looked familiar. He seemed to have seen him somewhere before. Have I seen him somewhere before? The hospital director muttered to himself. Fang Gishing couldn't help but laugh out loud. He felt that the hospital director was saving Bei Yunge some face. Hospital director, you're a reputable person in the country. How could you know this group of people from a medical institution who might not have broken the law? The hospital director frowned when he heard this. Dr. Fang, don't be so rude. Then, just as Fang Gishing was about to continue speaking, the person on the other end of the screen returned. He wiped the soup off his beard and placed the instant noodles under the desk without batting an eyelid. The hospital director was speechless. He had already seen everything clearly. Was there a need to hide it? Hello, I'm Stephen, the director of Country R's Medical Research Institute. I sent you an email this morning, but you didn't reply. That's why I'm anxious. As soon as he finished speaking, Fang Gishing, who had been mocking him, froze. The hospital director jerked his head up and stared at Stephen's face. Our Country R's Medical Research Institute? Mr. Stephen? The hospital director's eyes widened. He finally realized where he had seen this person before. Wasn't this the person who had stood on the stage to speak at the academic exchange conference? Bei Yunge had actually managed to invite Mr. Stephen. This immortal status in the medical industry was worlds apart from Fang Gishing's. The hospital director thought of the email just now. At first, he had wondered if it was a scam and hadn't dared to think in that direction. However, Mr. Stephen was actually the attending Dr. Bei Yunge had invited. Fang Gishing, who was standing beside him, obviously recognized the famous person in front of him. His face was pale and he stood there silently, as if he was part of the background. May I ask how Miss Bei Yunge managed to invite you? The principal couldn't help but ask. Isn't this network too wide? Even the big shots from overseas were not spared. It's mainly because my old friends introduced me. Stephen was obviously very happy at the mention of Bei Yunge. The joy on her face made the director of the hospital inexplicably suspicious. It was as if Pei Yunj was the important connection they wanted. This situation simply made the dean feel extremely complicated. A short while later, the director slowly turned his head and looked at Fang Gishing expressionlessly. Why aren't you saying anything? He couldn't help but feel a little nervous facing a big shot alone. However, Fang Gishing's face instantly turned green and red. You are? Stephen looked at him. Fang Gishing said stiffly, my name is Fang Gishing. I was Elder Qin's attending physician in the beginning. Listen to Yen. Suddenly, Stephen understood. He smiled amiably. I see. Actually, this surgery isn't too difficult. I'm fully confident that I can do it well. If Dr. Fang can do it, I can talk to Miss Pei. Hearing this, Fang Gishing's legs almost gave out. He didn't have the guts to make such a guarantee. Chapter 232. Mr. Stephen, I'm just here to confirm it. But since it's you, there's naturally no problem. Hearing Fang Gishing's 180-degree change in attitude, the director's eyelids twitched uncontrollably. Even if he eats instant noodles during meetings, it can't stop his professionalism. Dr. Fang, don't you think so? The director asked with a smile in his native language. Fang Gishing's expression was terrible and he could not say a word. His mind was in a mess. He never thought that the person Bei Yunj found would be Mr. Stephen. Weren't Qin Yojiao and Mrs. Qin playing with him? Stephen's ability could be said to be the ceiling of this professional field. In the end, this mother and daughter pair still dared to come to him for treatment. Did they want to see him embarrass himself on purpose? At the door of the ward, Bei Yunj saw Mrs. Qin and Qin Yojiao sitting together, looking like a warm mother and daughter pair. But very quickly, her eyes glanced over lazily and she walked towards the ward with a basket of fruits. Bei Yunj. Mrs. Qin stared at her with a cold expression. Mrs. Qin, I'm not in the mood to listen to you. Bei Yunj turned around carelessly and glanced at her with a faint smile. Then, before Mrs. Qin could say anything, Bei Yunj pushed the door open and entered. Mrs. Qin was stunned and gritted her teeth even more. Mom, Dr. Fang is back. Qin Yojiao pulled Mrs. Qin and reminded her softly. Hearing this, Mrs. Qin immediately changed her attitude and looked at Fang Gishing gently. Dr. Fang, have you talked to the director? I'm sorry to trouble you to have to settle such a small matter. After this operation is fine, who knew? Fang Gishing interrupted her and sneered. Mrs. Qin, you really think highly of me. These words made Mrs. Qin unable to react. Why did she feel that Fang Gishing's attitude towards them seemed to have become colder? What do you mean, Dr. Fang? Miss Pei has already found an attending doctor. Why do you have to worry so much? With that said, Fang Gishing suppressed the urge to scold Mrs. Qin on the spot and knocked on the door of the ward before entering. Only Mrs. Qin and Qin Yojiao were left standing at the door with ugly expressions. In the ward. Miss Pei? Fang Gishing took a deep breath and respectfully said. Listen to Yen. Bei Yunj glanced at Fang Gishing and asked casually, who are you? Nice to meet you. I'm Fang Gishing. Fang Gishing didn't mind Bei Yunj's lukewarm attitude at all, but old Master Qin, who was next to him, had a strange expression on his face. Last time, he had also heard Mother Qin's call to Fang Gishing. This person was extremely arrogant and had a bad attitude. But now, Fang Gishing's tone when he spoke to Pei Yunj seemed to be carefully trying to please her. This wasn't an illusion, right? Why are you looking for me? Bei Yunj was not interested in Fang Gishing and did not even bat an eyelid. This is my name card. If you need anything in the future, you can contact me. Fang Gishing put his business card in front of Bei Yunj and added, I can also come to Yunqing without charging you extra. Bei Yunj raised an eyebrow and glanced at him. Okay, thank you for your hard work, Dr. Fang. Seeing that Bei Yunj did not hold a grudge against him, Fang Gishing heaved a sigh of relief and said with a smile, "Miss Pei, you must be joking." "It's my honor." Chapter 233. Even after Fang Gishing left, old Master Qin was still staring at Bai Yunj in a daze. He felt that this granddaughter of his was a little unfamiliar. In the past, Gu was introverted and did not have many friends. However, the current Gu had a strong youthful aura and always gave off a high-spirited feeling. If it wasn't for this face, he would have suspected that the person in front of him was Gu. Qin Youjiao, who was outside the door, stopped Fang Gishing, wanting to know what had happened. However, Fang Gishing only left with a cold expression and did not say anything to her. Did Bai Yunj say something to Dr. Fang? Mrs. Qin clenched her fists and the first person she thought of was Bai Yunj. "Mom, don't be anxious about this. Since she wants the doctor she knows to operate on Grandpa so much, let's wait and see." A dark look flashed past Qin Youjiao's eyes and she clenched her fists tightly. "Jiao, I've wronged you." Mrs. Qin took Qin Youjiao's hand. Initially, Jiao had already found a doctor. She didn't know why Bai Yunj was so stubborn and insisted on finding another doctor herself. "Mom, I don't care about this. I believe Yunj is doing this for Grandpa's own good." Qin Youjiao lowered her head and forced a smile. "It's just that a few days ago, I submitted some documents to second brother's office and was eliminated in the first round. Second brother seems to have really changed." With Qin Youjiao's appearance and popularity, it was impossible for her to be eliminated in the first round. Upon hearing this, Mrs. Qin's temper flared. All of them are really rebelling. If it wasn't for old Master Qin inside, she wanted to question Bai Yunj now. What kind of magic potion did she give Qin Yu and Qin Lang? These two people were willing to sever ties with their family to protect her. "Jiao, don't worry. They will still find out how good you are in the end." Mrs. Qin caressed her head lovingly. Qin Youjiao hugged Mrs. Qin. "Mom, I only have you now." "Silly child." At noon, Bai Yunj returned to school and cancelled her morning break. When she walked in from the classroom, she heard several girls discussing some emotional topics. Bai Yunj could only hear the boys' Adam's apple. Inexplicably, Bai Yunj suddenly thought of the situation last time. When class was about to start, Lu Yuanci came back with a basketball. "Deskmate," Bai Yunj suddenly said. Lu Yuanci's eyes were somewhat guarded. "What's wrong? If a guy's Adam's apple is touched, will he be very angry?" It was also the first time Bai Yunj saw Huashidu's gaze. Hearing this, Lu Yuanci slowly relaxed, then sat on the chair and chuckled. "How could I? What's there to be angry about?" Lu Yuanci asked. "Then why? Was he angry?" Before Bai Yunj could finish her question, she felt Lu Yuanci's gaze on her. "You touched someone else's Adam's apple?" Lu Yuanci asked. Bai Yunj just looked at him without saying anything. Seeing this, Lu Yuanci denied himself and laughed. "No, why did you touch someone else's Adam's apple for no reason?" Bai Yunj was silent for a moment before she asked, "Will it be very serious?" Lu Yuanci looked at her strangely and snorted lazily. "Not really. It's just that it's easy for something to happen." "What happened?" Seeing that Bai Yunj was very concerned about this question, Lu Yuanci thought for a moment and changed his wording. "You will want to have a new life with the person who touches your Adam's apple." Chapter 234. Bai Yunj froze. Lu Yuanci warned, "Don't do anything rash. Men are bad in this aspect. Most men might not reject such a thing even if they didn't like it." Suddenly, Bai Yunj seemed to understand why Huashidu's voice was a little hoarse at that time. Lu Yuanci said, "Deskmate, your homework." Bai Yunj pushed the homework to him and turned around to calm himself down. Lu Yuanci was speechless. As expected of his deskmate, he was very cold. After school, Yunj went to the A.M. Institute first. Just as Yunj was teaching his two interns, a middle-aged man in a suit barged in. "Is Miss Pei here?" Yunj raised his eyebrows and saw that his eyes were calm. After glancing at the two interns, he walked straight to the camera. "I'm Delaney. Miss Pei should have some impression of me, right? The contract we discussed last time." At this moment, the door was pushed open again and Marcus's voice sounded. "Delaney." He had finally stabilized Yunj, but Delaney was looking for trouble at this time. "Delaney, I'm warning you, don't anger me." Marcus also walked in front of Delaney, his face livid. Seeing this, Delaney was a little surprised. He had heard that Marcus treated the new member as a treasure, but he did not expect it to be to this extent. "It looks like Yunj is really important to our nation's computing institute." Delaney smiled and his gaze landed on the screen where Yunj's face could not be seen. "Miss Pei, can't you show your true face and talk?" As soon as he finished speaking, Tich and Jasmine, who had been following Yunj in class, held their breaths. They also wanted to know what their teacher looked like. "There's nothing wrong with that." Yunj's tone was lazy. Then, the camera panned and everyone saw Yunj's eyes clearly. The girl had black hair and red lips. Her gaze was cold and her eyes were flirtatious with a faint smile. However, when she raised her eyebrows, she had a rebellious youthful vibe. She was unbelievably young and beautiful. Teacher, the two interns beside him were shocked. Their teacher was actually so young. He was too good-looking. "If you want to sign the right to use it, look for Marcus to draw up a contract." Yunj said indifferently. "Are you Miss Pei?" Delaney found it hard to believe that someone who could create such a project would be so young. He had seen many young geniuses, but he had never seen someone like Yunj, who was aiming for the Busaka Prize at such a young age. "Is there anything else?" Yunj looked up. When these words fell into the ears of the two interns, they automatically thought of Yunj's daily sentence, "Do you have any more questions?" This kind of precise control, impatient and threatening tone simply reminded them of the nightmares they had in class. "Miss Pei, this should be your first time signing a contract, right? With such a price, very few people are willing to cooperate," Delaney said. Yunj chuckled. After all, there aren't that many smart people. Delaney was speechless. He seemed to have been mocked. "Miss Pei, if I don't do this project, who would dare to do it?" Marcus and the two interns beside him felt their scalps go numb when they heard that Delaney dared to threaten Yunj directly. "Delaney, is there a lack of people in your circle who gamble with their lives?" Yunj teased. At the same time, Delaney subconsciously raised his head and froze. "You." Chapter 235. Delaney clenched his fists and stared at Yunj's face. Was this really a young lady in her 20s? Why was she more intelligent than those old researchers? "It's up to you whether you want this contract or not. I've also said that after the project is completed, any company that wants the right to use it will have to pay double the fee." Yunj was neither cold nor warm. Delaney was speechless. Forget about doing research. She would be a rare talent if she went back to the company with him. "I'll sign it." Delaney gritted his teeth and only said these two words. As for the others, they quickly turned to look at the livid Delaney. He was going to sign it so soon. Didn't he still think that it was too expensive and that a dignified CEO was acting shamelessly? "Yes, close the door. I have to go to class." Yunj nodded without any psychological burden. Delaney, who wanted to curse, was speechless. In the end, Delaney still left weakly. Marcus, who was at the side, could not bear it and patted his shoulder to comfort him. "There will be many opportunities to work together in the future." Delaney, who was stabbed in the back, almost had a distorted expression. Then Tich said carefully, "Teacher. What's wrong?" Yunj flipped through the information and frowned. Why did he take so long to explain such a small amount of content? That Delaney just now is my father. Tich braced himself and admitted. Baiyang paused and looked up at him. You want to go home with him? Tich shook his head frantically. No. Teacher, I wanted to come to the research institute myself. I was afraid that you would feel pressured. Tich's voice became softer and softer. What if the teacher thought that he was here to be a spy? Baiyang did not even raise his head. Pressure? Write fewer strange reports and hand them to me. I'll feel less pressure. Tich was speechless. Jasmine was speechless. Sorry, it was their fault. All right, let's continue with class. She glanced at them with a deep gaze. Baiyang felt that he was still too young and had not suffered the hardships of society. He actually agreed to Marcus's request to teach an intern and Marcus's little niece. At night, Baiyang came back late and did not see the man. Normally, Baiyang would have asked Auntie Meow first. But now, when Baiyang thought about touching his Adam's apple, she did not know how to face Washidu. Baiyang, what a bad move. She calmly took a deep breath and went upstairs. In front of the desk, Baiyang casually combed her black hair with a pen. Only a small strand of hair was left in front of her ears. How would I know that there was such a thing? Baiyang couldn't help muttering to herself as her slender fingers twirled the pen. But in the end, she still touched him. An hour later, Baiyang went downstairs to get some water. She didn't expect to see the man standing sideways at the long table pouring water. Brother? It was Baiyang's first time seeing Washidu wearing a black cotton shirt. It was very textured. The shirt was neatly tucked into his suit pants. His shoulders were wide and his waist was narrow. His long legs were too abstinent. However, at this moment, the man's eyes were deep. His posture was lazy and sexy. The 2 buttons on his collar were loose, revealing his exquisite collarbone. His entire person was lustful and frivolous. It was simply a criminal temptation. Huh. Chapter 236. Why was his hair wet? Baiyang saw that Washidu didn't say anything and looked at him again. The man's gaze was different too. The light in his eyes was completely hidden. It was ambiguous and dark, as if he was blatantly seducing her. Baiyang's gaze seemed to have been burned. She quickly looked away and asked, "Why is your hair wet? Did you drink?" He still smelled of alcohol. Baiyang frowned unconsciously and suddenly remembered something. The last time at the Qin family's old residence, Washidu seemed to have smelled of alcohol too, and he looked a little strange. Could it be that he couldn't drink? Don't tell me you fought with someone? Baiyang's beautiful eyes moved. Before she could finish speaking, the man suddenly leaned closer. He leaned over and looked straight at her. He said casually, "It's little Yunyan." Baiyang's heart suddenly beat faster when she was suddenly stared at like that. Forget it. Baiyang didn't intend to ask further. She pulled the man's sleeve and wanted to bring him upstairs. Who knew? The man suddenly grabbed her wrist with one hand and leaned lazily on the long table. He reached out to her head again. "You," before Baiyang could finish speaking, Washidu suddenly took off the fountain pen that was coiled around Baiyang's hair. At that moment, Baiyang's black hair scattered, but her sparkling eyes were staring at him. The man seemed to be in a good mood. His eyes darkened even more, and his magnetic and pleasant laughter sounded in a low voice. "Call me brother and I'll return it to you." Baiyang looked at his wet hair and said gently, "Are you going to take a shower later?" Suddenly, Baiyang was gently knocked on the head. "You only want to take advantage of me all day long?" The handsome and noble man's posture was light and lazy. His voice was long, as if he wanted to seduce her. Baiyang was speechless. Hence, Baiyang's good temper in her life was almost used up today. In the bedroom, after Baiyang blew Washidu's hair, she could tell that Washida's voice was a little hoarse and magnetic. It seemed that he had caught a cold. He didn't know what was going on today. Bei Yunj recalled the scene just now and her eyelids twitched. "Brother, why do you like to bully people after drinking?" The man didn't answer. It also attracted Bei Yunj's attention. "Brother, I'll get you some hot water to take a bath. Don't go out." Bei Yunj softened her tone again. "You've caught a cold. You have to get better soon, right?" The man's eyes fell on her without an inch of avoidance. Seeing her bright eyes looking at him, his eyes unconsciously darkened. "Yes." Washida's voice was low and magnetic. Seeing this, before Bei Yunj could breathe a sigh of relief, she suddenly heard a voice coming from downstairs. It was very light, but it gradually became clear. "Shidu? Shidu?" Old Madame Hua must have gone upstairs. When Bei Yunj heard this, she was about to walk out of the door when she suddenly remembered that this was Washida's bedroom. Bei Yunj was speechless. At this time, if she went out, old Madame Hua might get engaged to her brother at the end of the year. Thinking of old Madame Hua's urgent mood, Bei Yunj felt that she could not let old Madame Hua see her in the bedroom. However, she did not know what would happen if she left Washidu alone here. Bei Yunj turned her head and looked at Washidu for a long time. She only thought of one idea. After the old madam went upstairs. Chapter 237. Alas, let's go find sister. Mo pulled Alas in disgust in a childish voice. Alas tilted his head as if he didn't understand anything and just circled around his little master. "Grandma, I'm going to find sister." Mo held Alas's hand and said happily. Go, go." Old Madame Hua frowned. After turning on the lights, she only saw the hairdryer on the table. She muttered to herself, "Why isn't he here? He should have just come back." Old Madame Hua muttered in the bedroom and walked around. At this moment, Bei Yunj was huddled in the corner of the closet. Her entire body was a little stiff, but she couldn't move for fear of being discovered. The more she thought about it, the more she couldn't understand what the person who hid in the closet was thinking. Wasn't he sullen? Until Bei Yunj's ear suddenly felt an itchy heat. The man's low and magnetic voice was lazy and sexy. It made her ears burn. "Yun, sit on brother's lap." Bei Yunj's entire body froze, and her heart beat uncontrollably fast. "Brother, you..." Before Bei Yunj could finish speaking, the man suddenly pulled her over. Her whole body was trapped in his arms, sitting on his lap. The pleasant cold fragrance around her was mixed with the smell of alcohol. The quiet and secluded space was filled with a sense of taboo. Before she could break free, she heard a low laughter in her ear again. It was ostentatious and ambiguous, making one's heart tremble. "Yun, do you want brother to recover faster from his cold?" This time, all of Bei Yunj's calmness and self-control were shattered. This man today was simply asking for her life. Not long after, Mo returned. "Grandma, sister isn't here either." Mo pursed his lips and said. It wasn't easy for him to come and see his sister. "All right, baby. Maybe your brother took sister Pei out to play." Old Madame Hua coaxed, "Let's go back first, okay? But I want to wait for sister." Mo hesitated. Suddenly, Alas broke free from Mo's hand and ran towards the closet. He held a floral ribbon in his mouth and pulled it out happily. It was as if he had discovered something incredible. Inside the closet, Bei Yunj's eyelids twitched. She could only take a deep breath and take off her coat. She was completely unaware that in this narrow and dim environment, the man's eyes fell on her without hiding anything, and his eyes gradually darkened. Mo, what is Alas talking about?" Old Madame Hua was puzzled. "I'll go take a look." Mo quickly ran over and found that Alas was pulling a floral ribbon. It looked a little like the belt on Sister Pei's clothes. Mo, what is Eris doing?" After old Madame Hua asked, she was about to walk over again. Grandma, it's nothing. Momo blinked and glanced at the wardrobe. Finally, she secretly pulled the tape from Alyssa's mouth. Eris, we should go home. There's roast chicken tonight. After Momo finished speaking, Alice gave up on the idea of the belt. It happily rubbed its little master's cheek. Seeing that old Madame Hua had finally left, Bei Yunj also breathed a sigh of relief. She liked Momo more and more. Fortunately, there was Momo otherwise. If she was discovered, she was really afraid that old Madame Hua would contact her old master on the spot. However, when Bei Yunj thought of this man's actions just now, her eyelids could not help but twitch. You did it on purpose. Bei Yunj stared at Huashidu and said expressionlessly. The man leaned lazily against the wooden board. Huh. Chapter 238. Bei Yunj was speechless. Seeing this, the man's low and hoarse laughter was hopelessly sexy. Yunyun, what's wrong? Bei Yunj's eyebrows moved. She wanted to stand up, but she tripped over something in the dark and fell back into the man's arms. Bei Yunj seemed to have accidentally poked the man's firm abdomen. She heard him grunt softly, making her blush and her heart race. Brother, Before Bei Yunj could finish explaining, she met the man's eyes. The man leaned against the wooden board. His gaze was frivolous and his eyes were dark. His entire aura was lustful and deadly. However, at this moment, Bei Yunj started to notice the man's Adam's apple through the dark light. But in the next moment, Bei Yunj quickly looked away. Seeing this, the man's lips curled up imperceptibly. Before Bei Yunj could react, he suddenly leaned closer. He lowered his voice and laughed cynically. Where did you touch me just now, little greedy cat? At this moment, Bei Yunj was really about to explode. The next day, Huashidu woke up very early. However, when he was reading the newspaper downstairs and waiting for Bei Yunj to come downstairs to eat, he saw the little girl glance at him and sit down at the table. Thank you, Aunt Meow. After Bei Yunj thanked Aunt Meow, who brought the dishes over, she continued eating. Huashidu did not know how he had offended this child. During the meal, Huashidu scooped the porridge slowly, but his gaze was fixed on Bei Yunj. Yunyun, I'm full. Brother, eat slowly. Bei Yunj suddenly stood up and smiled at him. With that said, Bei Yunj took her backpack and left. The man tapped his fingertips on the table and thought for a moment. Aunt Meow, what's wrong with Yunyun? Aunt Meow, Sir, I'm sorry, I'm not too sure about this either. My child had a high fever last night, so I cooked dinner and went home. Huashidu narrowed his eyes. Yes, it's fine. Maybe she's not in a good mood. Sir, you can coax her more. Miss Pei is quite cute. I like her very much too. Auntie Meow smiled. Yes, she's cute. He laughed casually. When a little girl is angry, she's like a cat with its fur standing on end. However, he had a feeling that there was something that made the little girl so unhappy. On this day, the sensation that spread from abroad to within the country shocked everyone. Even the top 3 on the headlines were slaughtered. Hashtag Delaney Group's new technology hashtag country our computing institute, Delaney Group hashtag don't say knowledge can't change fate hashtag in the past, news from the scientific research community rarely made it to the top of the list. But this time, it really shocked everyone. As the most high-end technology group abroad, the Delaney Group had actually signed more than $1 billion worth of technology rights. If converted to their country's currency, it would be 10 billion. Furthermore, the usage period was only 5 years. Even the Delaney Group, which was famous for being stingy, had been ruthlessly squeezed dry. This made the netizens excited. No way, 10 billion? Back then, those who said that they were doing scientific research and didn't earn much came over and counted. How many zeros are there? What a ruthless move. Ha 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 ha, I heard that she's the new ace member of Country R's Computing Institute. And she's a young lady from our country. Chapter 239. Our country? This is too glorious. To be honest, the only person our country can really produce is Zhong Xinglin, heir. She shouldn't be young anymore. It's a little weird to call her a little sister, I want to argue. Then why didn't she stay in the country? Is the air overseas sweeter? Question, I'm convinced. There's even a contrarian here. Did he lose his mind from chasing celebrities? Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. Are you treating the big boss as a popular celebrity? Take care of your street, understand? At the Computing Institute. Old master, look at this news. Is it talking about our master pay? After interacting with Bei Yunj, Si Qingyan's relationship was quite good. He did not care that Bei Yunj was a few years younger than him. What the hell? Zhong Xinglin put on his glasses and scanned the news. His old face darkened and he started to gnash his teeth. That B** starred really got off easy. F***CK. It's really master pay? Si Qingyan was shocked. Zhong Xinglin slapped the back of Si Qingyan's head. New member, new member. In the past 2 years, other than her, has Country R's Computing Institute recruited anyone else? He was heartbroken again. Look at you again. You're also a new member, but you joined our institute a year or 2 earlier. What did you do? She entered the institute for a month and gave Country R's Computing Institute a 10 billion yuan project. She made the headlines and was in the limelight. What about you? Si Qingyan was speechless. Not everyone would be able to get 10 billion in their lifetime, okay? Zhong Xinglin's gaze became even more determined. No, I have to poach her as soon as possible. This was really a mistake of 100 million yuan per second. Not only Zhong Xinglin, even Stephen, who was hiding in his office and eating instant noodles, was speechless. Was Marcus's luck exploding? Why was their institute so lucky this year? Cheng Zihui, who had also seen this explosive news, had a dark gaze. Zihui, what are you thinking about? Qin Youjiao smiled. She had just finished styling herself when she saw the news on Cheng Zihui's phone screen. Qin Youjiao raised an eyebrow and teased deliberately, I wonder how old a female researcher with such achievements is. But I believe that you will be able to do the same in the future. Hearing this, Cheng Zihui did not agree. He was indeed talented, but that was only when compared to ordinary people. The ace member of the Computing Institute of Country R was one of the rarest of geniuses. There was no way she could be compared to her. Zihui, what's wrong? Why are you so unhappy? Qin Yushao asked with a coy smile. Cheng Zihui snapped back to his senses and shook his head. You know this person too. I know. Qin Youjiao froze. Cheng Zihui clenched his fists and pursed his lips. It's the teacher I wanted to follow before. This is her project. These words surprised Qin Youjiao as well. She had never thought that the teacher Cheng Zihui wanted to follow would have such ability. It was no wonder that Cheng Zihui had been depressed for so long when he did not get this connection back then. However, after seeing this news, Cheng Zihui was probably not in a good mood now. After all, if he had become this person's student back then, the Cheng family would have risen because of this person. She's too arrogant. Chapter 240. Qin Youjiao said with a frown. Ranhua Pavilion. Hearing this, no matter how unbalanced Cheng Zihui felt, he knew very well that if that person wanted students, there would indeed be a large number of outstanding students willing to follow her. She's indeed amazing. Cheng Zihui's eyes darkened, but he was thinking about something else. Marcus had told him that this person was also in Yuncheng. So, if he found this person, there might be a chance for her to accept him. Zihui, I believe you'll be like her in the future, Qin Youjiao said with a smile. Hearing this, Qing Zihuai caressed her head and said with a smile, aren't you going to do a live stream? Go do the live stream first. I've already informed a few uncles I know in advance. If there are any resources, I'll push them to you first. Zihuai, you're so good to me. Qin Youjiao said coquettishly. Until Friday. The headline started to be related to the Qin family again. The reason was that Qin Youjiao had accidentally revealed during the live stream that Bei Yunj had chased away Fang Gisheng and found another, famous doctor, to operate on old Master Qin. The moment this news came out, many netizens started to scold Bei Yunj for being unfilial. No matter how much she fought with Qin Youjiao, there was no need to take the old master's life lightly. Then, the marketing account of Qin Youjiao's contract company even exposed all sorts of things. They said that Bei Yunj did this for the family assets. Because old Master Qin liked Bei Yunj, most of the Qin family's assets were left to Bei Yunj. With this news, more people were filled with righteous indignation. F***ck, old Master Qin likes her so much. Is she crazy? My heart aches for old Master Qin. If this is true, the Qin family has really attracted an ingrate. Qin Youjiao was scolded so badly a while ago. She's cleared her name now? Isn't it too fast? Indeed, this elder young miss wants to debut. The moment a certain someone debuted, she wanted to trample on another young lady no matter what. I don't know what illness she has. Jealousy? Confused, the two people above, let's earn money together. Back then, Qin Youjiao was the one who apologized and was even scolded. I think the real scheming person is that young lady who has never appeared before, right? Relying on Director Lin to clear her name, I feel bad that Director Lin still has to use her reputation to clean up the mess for some people in her later years. Not long after, more insiders began to reveal the truth. Director Lin's character is impeccable. However, if some people did not want to learn well, it would be useless even if the Daluo Immortal personally taught them. She's the daughter of Director Lin, but she's actually at the bottom of the level. Qin Youjiao is already second in the level. Gradually, the public's impression of Bei Yunj began to decline. In the office. Jiao, the company has already arranged for someone to follow Bei Yunj. When the time comes, we will be able to get a picture of who she invited for the surgery. But, are you sure that she won't hire any experts? The manager asked with a smile. Qin Youjiao drank the black tea and smiled at her. Are you sure that there's someone in the country who's better than Fang Gisheng in this aspect? Although she did not know why Fang Gisheng had left in anger, this might be because Bei Yunj had played some tricks. That's good. As long as you trample on her, your image as a young lady will be stable. Hearing this, the smile on Qin Youjiao's face froze. The word image had hit her where it hurt. Her eyes darkened as she pursed her lips. The young lady of the Qin family did not need Bei Yunj's existence, she would make this person disappear. Same as the Almighty. Chapter 241. However. Calligraphy Pavilion. More good. What made Qin Youjiao even more uneasy was that she seemed to be the only one in the entire industry who knew that Yu Manran was actually the eldest young lady of the Yu family. At that time, if Yu Manran's identity was exposed, it would probably affect her quite a bit. Sister, do you know Yu Manran? Qin Youjiao asked calmly. Yes. I don't know where she found a composer this year. She became popular with just one song and her popularity is higher than the A-list now. Even they had their sights set on the composer. However, they could not get any information at all. It was said that it was someone Yu Manran knew. Sister, can you find that composer? Qin Youjiao said with a smile, she can bid as much as she wants. I want her to write a song for me. In the evening. When Stephen found out about this, he was so angry that smoke was coming out of his head. I'm a pheasant expert. Did you hear that? Did you hear what old Zhong said? F***ck, I'm going to sue those keyboard warriors. Stephen's face flushed red. He had never suffered such grievances in his life. "Inspector, calm down. Our institute hasn't earned 1 billion yuan, where would we get so much money to sue?" The assistant immediately said gently. Stephen was speechless. If this brat hadn't been with him for so many years, he really wanted to fire him. Miss Pei said that Dr. Fong went to post an explanation. "Don't be anxious. When they know who did the surgery, they won't dare to be so impudent." "That's true." At this thought, Stephen's mood improved. He laughed coldly. "A bunch of ignorant brats. I want to see if they still dare to talk nonsense when they know who they are scolding." Seeing Stephen's noble and cold expression, the assistant's eyelids twitched. Yes, you're right. What happened this time was beyond his expectations. Fang Gisheng, who had just gotten off work and was about to have a candlelit dinner with his wife, was shocked. Then, his face darkened. Who was the one who complained that his life was too comfortable? Did they have to drag him out and be mocked by the entire internet? However, not long after. The internet was still in a heated discussion. Following this, Fang Gisheng's clarification video became the focus of everyone's attention as soon as it was released. It was crazily viewed and forwarded. Fang Gisheng, who was shooting the video, was wearing ordinary clothes. He didn't look too good, but he said a few words politely. He had confirmed that the attending doctor hired by Biyao was indeed more experienced than he was. He hoped that everyone could relax and stop attacking others. However, as the number of views of this video increased, there were actually people who started the momentum. "Dr. Fong doesn't look too well, a certain heiress is 666. How could she threaten an innocent doctor? Just look at it. He's very reluctant to shoot a video. Is there anyone else who will wash Beiyao's clothes? Dr. Fong, blink when you're being threatened. We support you." Stephen sat in front of the computer and translated the comments one by one. His expression gradually turned ugly. These people really wanted to satisfy their own fantasies. Everything was said according to what they thought. "There's no need to be angry, Stephen. They hate me, not you." Biyao smiled lazily. "That won't do. What right do they have to criticize you?" Stephen was so angry that his face darkened. He might as well. He found the official social media account of Country A that the Our Nation Medical Institute had registered a few years ago. Guru Tong. Chapter 242. Stephen sneered. "I'd like to see what else they can make up." After that, Stephen hung up the phone after exchanging a few more words with Biyao. Calligraphy pavilion more good. She couldn't wait for those stupid humans to open their eyes wide and take a good look at who the pheasant expert they were talking about was. Beiyao's eyelids twitched when she was hung up on. She sent a message to her assistant to remind Stephen to board the plane. Not long after. She thought for a moment, opened the social media app, and scrolled through the headlines. She clicked on it and saw that the first post was a video about Dr. Fong. However, just as everyone was scolding Dr. Fong, someone suddenly noticed that a big shot had liked the video. They clicked on the profile picture and found that it was a verified official account. Country R's Medical Research Institute. Everyone? What was going on? Why would Country R's Medical Research Institute like Dr. Fong when they had nothing to do with him? Then, just as they were feeling uneasy, they saw that the official account that had not been updated for a few years suddenly reposted Dr. Fong's clarification post. What was going on? Could it be that the expert Biyao hired was from Country R's Medical Research Institute? Many people couldn't help but gasp when they saw this. However, they were also puzzled. How did Biyao know someone from Country R's Medical Research Institute? Could it be that it was also because of Director Lin? Director Lin's social circle was too wide, wasn't it? Because Country R's Medical Research Institute had publicly reposted the video, Qin Youjiao's team, who was manipulating public opinion, didn't know what to do for a moment. They could only wait and see. At this time, the netizens were also confused. I've checked. Director Stephen of Country R's Medical Research Institute is an expert in this field. He's a world-famous expert. Oh my god, Bei Yunj is too amazing, isn't she? What does this have to do with Bei Yunj? Even if it is, it's Director Lin's credit. Don't joke around. Do you believe it? Everyone in the circle knows that Stephen's surgery volume is limited in a year. Even if Bei Yunj is booked, it won't be this year. Stephen even performed surgery for her family. The Qin family is nothing in the world. Do you understand? The person above is harsh, but it's the truth. Stephen's number of surgeries is limited. This year's patients were confirmed in March. Bei Yunj skimmed through these comments and returned to the Computing Institute. Master Pei, quick. Come and take a look at my project. See if there's anything that can be improved. The moment he saw Bei Yunj, Si Qingyan enthusiastically pulled Bei Yunj to his research lab. Brat, stop right there. Zhong Xinglin suddenly appeared and immediately separated the two of them. Take care of your own projects. Don't take shortcuts. With that said, Zhong Xinglin looked at Bei Yunj gently. Yunj, I heard that the contract you signed with Marcus is for 3 months. When Si Qingyan heard this topic, he knew what the old master was up to again. He had not managed to poach her after so long. He even complained that he was hindering him from poaching her. After Si Qingyan left, Bei Yunj smirked. I was in urgent need of money back then, so I signed for 3 months. What about now? Zhong Xinglin asked urgently. Elder Zhong, you can see that Marcus is very good to me, said Lin Feng. Bei Yunj's eyes curved. So, at least for now, I can't think about this. Same as the Almighty. Chapter 243. Bei Yunj's meaning was clear. She was indebted to Marcus for recognizing her worth. Even if she had not promised Marcus that she would stay in their institute in the future, at least she could not decide to come to the Computing Institute at this time. Hearing this, Zhong Xinglin's heart ached even more. What kind of luck did Marcus have? He really met someone like Bei Yunj, who was sentimental about old ties. Yunj, I understand what you mean. But if you choose the Domestic Computing Institute, I sincerely hope that you can choose our Computing Institute first. Zhong Xinglin smiled. Although I might not be able to offer the generous conditions that Marcus offered, it's a private computing institute. If you're willing, I hope you can be my successor. With that said, Bei Yunj's eyelashes fluttered and she looked up at him again. Usually, even if it was a private research institute, it seemed that more people would want their children to inherit it. Just like in her previous life, as a well-known physicist in the industry, Mrs. Pei had also nurtured Bei Yunj in that area, hoping that Bei Yunj would inherit her physics institute. In the end, Bei Yunj secretly opened a computing institute herself. Because of this, Mrs. Pei was so angry that she did not speak to Bei Yunj for a month. Thank you, Elder Zhong. Bei Yunj said with a smile. You don't have to be too stressed. My grandson is indeed studying computing, but his aptitude is average and he can't control the Computing Institute. What I hope more is that the Computing Institute can be passed down and walk towards glory. Zhong Xinglin looked at the long term and focused more on the computing industry in Country A. As for his grandson, he had also left behind a lot of family assets, enough for them to live in peace for the rest of their lives. Saturday. Bei Yunj went to the airport and received her quietly. About 10:30 p.m. A tall middle-aged man with blonde hair and blue eyes came out. Bei Yunj recognized Stephen at a glance from the photos online. At the same time, although Stephen had just gotten off the plane, he was still refreshed. He said excitedly and happily, "Tisk, let's walk faster. Maybe Yunj is waiting." The assistant was speechless. "She's not your granddaughter. Why are you so happy to see her?" Suddenly, Stephen and Selena saw a beautiful young girl walking towards them. Bei Yunj took off her mask, revealing her delicate and beautiful face. She smiled and said, "Stephen, we finally meet." Stephen froze when he heard this familiar voice. This was Jianghu. Stephen could not come back to his senses for a long time. He had heard Marcus brag that their Jianghu was especially beautiful and did not believe it for a moment. But now, this standard Oriental beauty's face was really hard to find fault with. Especially the bright and beautiful expression between her eyebrows, it was unforgettable. Jianghu, I really didn't expect you to look like this. After a while, Stephen couldn't help but laugh. Let's go. I'll be a good host and take the two of you to dinner. Jianghu chuckled. Sure. This Yun city is really not bad. Stephen laughed loudly. However, in the corner, a sneaky young man secretly took a picture of Jianghu and Stephen walking together. However, what he did not expect was that Jianghu did not bring her to the hospital. Instead, they went to a scenic spot to play. He thought for a moment and called Qin Youjiao's manager to tell her about this. You don't have to let me see it. Just post it online. Just say that Jianghu hired a quack overseas and is eating, drinking, and having fun with others. She doesn't take old Master Qin's illness to heart. Chapter 244. This. What if he's not a quack? The young man could not help but hesitate. Then we have to post it even more. The manager chuckled. If that person cures old Master Qin, what's the point of posting it? On the other hand, if we do this, more people will think that Jianghu is gambling. I got it. The young man nodded and stopped following Jianghu and the rest. Inspector, Miss Pei, someone followed us and took photos secretly just now. With that said, Stephen, who was eating soup dumplings, almost choked. Why didn't you say so earlier? At this moment, Jianghu said slowly, I saw it. It's alright, I'll delete it later. When she said this, those who didn't know would almost think that Jianghu was planning to delete her post. Only Stephen vaguely remembered how Jianghu made the headlines back then. There's no need for that. Stephen patted his chest, his expression confident. Don't worry, leave this to me. Then, Stephen pulled Jianghu and his assistant along and took a photo as a souvenir. Soon, he posted it on his social media app and Marcus's phone. Soon, Marcus sent messages crazily. You went for a meal with Jianghu? Are you there? Let me show you Jianghu's Computing Institute identity card. Smile, how childish. Do you think I can be angry? Boring. Huh, I've blocked you. Goodbye, brother. After reading this long string of messages, the corners of Stephen's lips twitched. Wasn't this childish enough? He wasn't angry. In the afternoon. In the ward. Dad, I've said it before. This isn't a child who grew up in our family after all. We don't know her background. You're still. Before Mrs. Qin could finish speaking, she was interrupted by old Master Qin. If you continue to spout nonsense, I'll get Qin Ting to send you back to your parents' home. These words made Mrs. Qin open her mouth with an ugly expression, but she didn't know what to say. Are you still worthy of being a mother? You're so righteous even when you talk bad about your daughter. Shameless. Once old Master Qin was angered, he felt dizzy. The nurse beside him quickly comforted old Master Qin, telling him not to get angry. Mrs. Qin pursed her lips and said, but the news on the internet was also taken by someone else. It can't be that someone deliberately tried to harm her. Who took it? I'll get my lawyer to sue him right now. Upon hearing old Master Qin's words, Mother Qin's face turned green and red. She was speechless. She couldn't hope for Grandpa Xing to come to his senses. Hey, this person looks familiar, the nurse suddenly said. Mrs. Qin's eyes lit up. You know him? Who is it? Old Master Qin glanced at Mrs. Qin. Disgust flashed across his eyes, and he closed his eyes impatiently. Let me think, the nurse racked her brains and felt that this person looked very familiar. A few minutes later, Mrs. Qin became a little anxious. She suddenly exclaimed, "I remember now. This is Stephen." "What Stephen?" Mrs. Qin suddenly had a bad premonition. The director of Country R's Medical Institute, Stephen. The nurse looked at old Master Qin enviously. "Mr. Stephen rarely takes on surgeries. This year, his surgeries are full. Miss Pei must have put in a lot of effort for you. She's so good to you. She's a filial girl." Upon hearing this, Mrs. Qin's face turned pale and her eyes lost focus. How could this be? How could Bei Yunj invite such a person? Chapter 245. Could it be Director Lin? But how could Director Lin have such a wide network? Look, this is someone who can even step on her own daughter. Old Master Qin laughed coldly. Mrs. Qin wanted to say something but hesitated. In the end, she could only bite her lip with a red face and remain silent. At this moment, a group of netizens who did not know the situation were about to tear into each other. "A certain young lady is really interesting to go out and play with an old man at this time. I really feel bad for Director Lin. Even if you blow up your account this time, I still want to scold you. You just can't compare to Qin Youjiao. Don't you know that? Why are you scolding Bei Yunj? A group of people are confused and think that they are righteous. Don't you know how to write the word cyberbullying? This kind of B*TCH should have such extravagance. If you have the ability, blow up my account." The matter was full of twists and turns, and it was getting more and more confusing. However, under the guidance of Qin Youjiao's marketing team, it still went in the direction they wanted. However, it wasn't long before another shocking scene appeared. A few minutes later, Qin Yu, who had been filming overnight for 2 days, immediately reposted that post when he saw it. Qin Yu? Smile. As for Qin Lang, who was training and had his phone confiscated, there was no movement. However, to everyone's surprise, Qin Lang's studio reposted Qin Yu's comment immediately after. Crush Qin Lang's studio? Smile. In less than a minute, the comments exploded. Ha 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 ha, they're here. They're here. They're here with the anger of a sister complex. It's about to start. Is Brother Lang's studio trying to make me laugh to death? Shao sure, I'll protect Brother Lang's sister. Reporting, second sister-in-law's fans have gathered. Reporting, will gather again after third sister-in-law's fans finish eating. Sob sob sob, dog head, I'm speechless. So what if you have a best actor brother and an esports player brother? Are you relying on your fans to clear your name? I'm scared. You have a lot of fans and you're awesome, okay? Entertainers are ruining the country. Entertainers are ruining the country. Qin Yu and Qin Lang had many fans, but more importantly, this matter made people have a bad impression of Bei Yunj. As a result, some of Qin Yu and Qin Lang's fans were still persuading them to delete this post. After all, it was really too much. But who knew? At this moment, a certain group that was usually rarely active suddenly reposted Qin Yu's post as if they had agreed. Research Institute, Zhongxinglin. Smile, Dean of Biology of Yunqing University. Smile, the former principal of Yunqing University. Smile, Professor Yu Guang. Smile, Yunqing University Medical Dean. Smile, our nation's Medical Research Institute. Smile, this scene made one's scalp tingle. Everyone? Did he break through the dimension? What was going on? Was half of the scientific research community mobilized? Soon. Everyone saw that Country R's Medical Research Institute had reposted someone's post. Our nation's Medical Research Institute, Heart, our nation's Medical Research Institute, Stephen, my friend and me, picture. At this moment, everyone was shocked. So, the old man who was rumored to be having fun with Bei Yunj was Stephen, the director of our nation's medical institute? F***CK. What a deity. DBQ Mr. Stephen, I actually didn't recognize you. Is Bai Yunj a big boss harvester? Chapter 246. Lin Longjun is her grandmother, and Stephen is her friend. The moment something happened to her, half of the scientific research field and two cis-obsessed brothers protected her. I'm so jealous, I'm jealous, I'm jealous. Goodbye, I'm starting to understand why Dr. Fong's expression isn't too good. This isn't an expert, but an ancestor. The one who offended him is the ancestor, the biological daughter of the big shots. The little darling of the brothers? Please, Master Pei, write an autobiography of the group's love. The moment Qin Yojiao debuted, Bai Yunj was scolded and became a trending topic, isn't that so? You're trying your best to push Bai Yunj away, but she's really loved by the group. On the internet, the people who had followed the trend to slander Bai Yunj seemed to have disappeared without a trace. On the contrary, only the haters who had started to slander Qin Yojiao were left. In the office, Qin Yojiao's expression was terrible and she wanted to smash her phone. She never thought that this matter would take such an unrealistic turn that was even more unrealistic than a dream. Jiao, this is quite unexpected. But don't worry, the company's public relations are already handling it. Don't worry. The manager was also anxious, but Qin Yojiao had just signed with their company, so it was not good for her to act like she was flustered. Thank you, sister. Qin Yojiao's expression improved slightly. At least, she still had a company behind her now, so she would not be too outnumbered. At the Hua Corporation. Tsing Su, apart from telling you about the parent-teacher conference last time, what else did Yunyan say? Hua Shidu thought of how the little girl was throwing a tantrum and asked casually. I think so. With that said, Tsing Su saw that his Master Du seemed to be thinking about something. Master Du, did you have a fight with Miss Pei? Hua Shidu glanced at him and did not say anything. This situation made it difficult for Tsing Su to understand. However, Tsing Su suddenly remembered what had happened in the past 2 days. Master Du, have you seen the recent headlines? What's wrong? Hua Shidu looked up and asked. It's that Miss Pei was maliciously slandered. However, the two young masters of the Qin family and some seniors in the scientific research field are very protective of Miss Pei. Currently, this matter has been resolved. Tsing Su couldn't help but exclaim when he thought of the melon he had eaten. Especially the phrase, big boss harvester, it was simply very popular. Aside from the big shots they knew, if anyone else found out that this little princess was living in the home of the president of the Hua Corporation, they would probably have a mental breakdown. Malicious? Hua Shidu's pale-colored eyes gradually turned cold and deep. There was an unfathomable danger in them. It's the tricks of the entertainment industry. The other Miss Qin of the Qin family has signed with an entertainment company. I'm guessing that the entertainment company is personally involved. After Tsing Su finished speaking, he added carefully, Master Du, do you need me to show my face? Next time. This would also prevent those people from thinking that Miss Pei had no one backing her. There's no need. Hua Shidu narrowed his eyes nonchalantly. His deep voice was emotionless. You caused trouble for my child. How can there be a second chance? Hearing this, Tsing Su immediately understood. Master Du didn't intend to let that company continue to operate. Tsing Su, okay. When he returned, Hua Shidu saw the young lady quickly greeting him and going upstairs. He didn't even look up when he was eating. The next day, Bai Yunj had just gone downstairs when she saw Yu Hanran and Hua Shidu sitting together. Before she could leave, she heard the man say, Yun. Chapter 247. At this moment, Yu Hanran also noticed Bai Yunj. He had a teasing look in his eyes, wanting to see how this couple interacted every day. From Huashidu's casual question, the two of them seemed to be quarreling. What's wrong? Baiyunj turned around and looked at him with curved eyes. Come here. Hearing this, Baiyunj glanced at him and then glanced at Yuhanran, who was waiting for a good show. She walked towards Huashidu. When Huashidu saw this, the corners of his lips curled up slightly. He stood up and narrowed his eyes casually. He held her wrist with one hand and took off the rubber band. It's too hot outside. With that said, Huashidu stood in front of the girl and reached out. His slender and well-defined fingers gently lifted her curly hair and slowly tied it up for the girl. This scene made the smile on Yuhanran's face freeze. Wait a minute. Shouldn't they be quarreling? Why did he let him see such a scene? After tying her ponytail, Baiyunj glanced at Huashidu. Actually, she had long lost her temper. I'm going to the hospital. I'll be back later. Baiyunj touched her hair. Okay. Huashidu curled his lips and reached out to rub her jawline. Yuhanran was speechless. Hey, guys, am I invisible? In the morning. Stephen was undergoing surgery. Almost 4 hours later, the door to the operating theater opened. The surgery was very successful. Old Master will be fine after resting well. The other doctor smiled and could not help but say to Baiyunj, it's all thanks to Miss Pei that I have the chance to share the stage with Mr. Stephen. You must be joking. Baiyunj smiled. However, in the eyes of the Qin couple, this scene caused them to have complicated feelings. They had always felt that Baiyunj was a loner and had no friends. They did not expect her to be friends with Stephen. They did not know how they got to know each other. It's been hard on you this time. Mr. Qin stepped forward and said gently. Baiyunj's tone was indifferent. It's my duty. The smile on Mr. Qin's face froze. Of course, he knew that Baiyunj was so attentive because of old Master Li, otherwise, if it were him or Mother Qin, Baiyunj probably wouldn't even look at them. Mr. Qin's eyes darkened. You and Jiao, Yunj, isn't it time to go eat? Stephen's voice sounded. Baiyunj turned around and saw that Stephen was still in good spirits. She smiled and said, well, I have a friend later. Do you mind? What's there to mind? Stephen said and went to change his clothes. The two of them chatted in a familiar tone, as if they were old friends. However, the age difference was a little too big. Mr. Qin, if there's nothing else, I'll go back first. Mr. Qin reacted and quickly nodded. Okay. Be careful, Next. Even after Baiyunj left, Mr. Qin's expression was still gloomy. Mrs. Qin stepped forward and said angrily. Didn't I ask you to tell her to put in a good word for Jiao? Hearing this, Mr. Qin felt annoyed for no reason. Gu is the one who suffers every time. Why must she listen to me? With that said, Mrs. Qin was stunned for a moment. She could not imagine that these words would come from his mouth. Qin Ting, what do you mean? Baiyunj is your daughter, but Jiao isn't? Mrs. Qin suddenly became agitated. She's my daughter to begin with. Mr. Qin reprimanded angrily. Chapter 248. Mrs. Qin's eyes widened as she stared at Mr. Qin in disbelief. All right, you don't want Jiao anymore? Mr. Qin was furious. Look at what Jiao has become. She didn't do it on purpose the first time, but what about the second and third time? Every time something happens to Gu, it's related to her. How can I believe her? With that said, suddenly, the sound of something falling to the ground sounded not far away. Mr. and Mrs. Qin turned around and saw Qin Yojiao looking at Mr. Qin in disbelief and grievance with red eyes. At this moment, Mr. Qin panicked inexplicably. After all, this was the child he had doted on for almost 20 years. Jiao, Qin Yojiao turned around and ran away with red eyes. It's all your fault. How can Baiyunj compare to Jiao? Why are all of you slowly standing on her side? Mrs. Qin's heart ached. Looking at the thermos box that had fallen to the ground, she immediately went forward to pick it up. Jiao Jiao is a filial child. If she hears what you said, she will definitely be very sad. Mrs. Qin panicked as well. For a moment, Mr. Qin felt complicated and guilty. He could only turn his face away and pinch the space between his eyebrows tiredly. How could he not want to have a happy family? However, it just so happened that he had carried the wrong child back then. Now, facing his two daughters, he did not know what to do. At noon, Chu Zhixing stood at the entrance of the hospital and waited, feeling inexplicably nervous. Until Bei Yunji's voice sounded. Xiao Chu. Chu Zhixing turned around and saw Bei Yunji walking over alone. Yunji, how's Grandpa Qin? The surgery was very successful. However, Bei Yunji was a little surprised that Chu Zhixing's first concern was her grandfather. She thought that this fellow should be more concerned about Country R's medical institute. That's good. Chu Zhixing heaved a sigh of relief and nodded. Oh right, who is the person you said you like from Country R's medical institute? Bei Yunji asked again. Hearing this, Chu Zhixing became even more nervous. Mr. Stephen. Bei Yunji was speechless. At this moment, Chu Zhixing suddenly remembered what had happened on the internet yesterday. His eyelids twitched and he took a deep breath calmly. Yunji, you said last time that you would help me talk about the application form. Don't tell me you're planning to look for Mr. Stephen? Yes, I only know him. Bei Yunji nodded without hiding anything. Seeing the complicated and regretful expression on Chu Zhixing's face, Bei Yunji couldn't help but smile. She glanced at her watch and then glanced at the elevator. Coincidentally, she saw Marcus change his clothes and come down. Suddenly, Chu Zhixing, who was in the midst of grief, heard an inexplicably familiar voice. Yunji, can we go to the supermarket later? Your country's instant noodles are really delicious. Stephen said happily. Chu Zhixing raised his head abruptly and saw the person he used to admire the most. This didn't seem to match the character he had in mind. Wasn't Mr. Stephen dressed in a suit and leather shoes every time he attended a meeting? Wasn't he cold and elegant? Although he wasn't very good at Country R's language, he understood the phrase, buy instant noodles. Okay, I'll send you a few boxes when the time comes. Bei Yunji didn't care much and suddenly said, oh right, this is my friend, Chu Zhixing. Mr. Stephen. Bei Yunji looked at Chu Zhixing and said concisely. After Chu Zhixing felt his idol's gaze, his body stiffened and he became nervous. Chapter 249. Hello, student Chu Zhixing. Stephen smiled, not putting on any airs on stage at all. However, for some reason, it made people want to get closer to him. Hello, Stephen was actually not a difficult person to get along with. However, Chu Zhixing's foreign language skills were not very good, so it was a little difficult for the two of them to communicate. However, after dinner, Stephen realized that the boy Bei Yunji brought was very talented in medicine. This made Stephen suddenly feel that Chu Zhixing was an unexpected surprise for him to come to Yuncheng. You signed up for our summer camp? Stephen could not help but laugh. Why don't you consider studying in Country R? When the time comes, you can come into contact with our research institute earlier. Hearing this, Chu Zhixing almost dropped his chopsticks. Really, can I really do that? One had to know that the interns recruited by Country R's medical institute were all postgraduate students. Last time, the medicine Yunji asked me to make should be for you, right? Stephen chuckled. Since you're Yunji's friend, there aren't so many rules. Hearing this, Chu Zhixing was stunned for a moment before he realized that his medicine was made by Stephen, instantly. Chu Zhixing looked at the girl beside him, who was eating with her head buried in her food. His heart seemed to have been brushed by water. On this day, Qin Yu, who had just applied for leave from the director and was about to go to Bei Yunji's parent-teacher conference, suddenly received a call. You, Have you been home recently? The man's low and calm voice was very pleasant to the ears. However, Qin Yu was inexplicably vigilant. He laughed. I'll be back in a few days. Brother, what happened? Nothing. I prepared some gifts for everyone. The handsome man in the suite hid the coldness in the depths of his dark eyes. It was only when he thought of something that a hint of gentleness appeared. By the way, how's Gu? Hearing Qin Luyan ask about Bei Yunj the moment he came up, Qin Yu was alarmed. In the past, when eldest brother went abroad, he had never cared about Gu. Even Qin Yojiao was the same. She's pretty good. Qin Yu thought for a moment and repeated what had happened at home. When Qin Luyan heard that Qin Yojiao had been sent to stay with Mr. and Mrs. Qin by Qin Lang, his emotions did not fluctuate much. However, when he heard Qin Yu say that Bei Yunj had also gone out to stay, his eyes immediately darkened. She went out to stay. Where did a little girl like her go to live? Hearing his brother's voice darken, Qin Yu didn't dare to tell him that Gu was staying at his friend's house. Don't worry, it's someone I know. Some time ago, old master also saw him. There's no problem. Qin Yu leaned against the chair and chuckled. When Qin Luyan heard that, he remained silent for a while before saying unhurriedly, then it's not appropriate for our Qin family's young lady to live outside. I'll deal with this matter when I get back. Just focus on filming. After that. Qin Luyan hung up the phone. However, Qin Yu inexplicably felt that something was wrong. Big brother, this ice block, when would he start to care for Gu more? Didn't he not even ask about his parents? Qin Yu did not know what Qin Luyan meant by calling either. However, he knew that there would indeed be trouble with Qin Luyan's return. Qin Yojiao knew that he and Qin Lang would ignore her and would definitely think of ways to make eldest brother stand on her side. If that was the case, it would be troublesome. Chapter 250. Then wouldn't Qin Yojiao have found a backer? Qin Yu pursed his lips, feeling that this matter might become troublesome. At the same time, Mrs. Qin also held Qin Yojiao's hand happily. Jiao, your older brother is coming back. You've suffered during this period of time. When eldest brother comes back, he will definitely help you. Eldest brother is coming back? Qin Yojiao's eyes lit up and she looked up at Mrs. Qin. She had finally waited for eldest brother to return. One had to know that the true person in charge of the Qin family was still eldest brother. Second brother and third brother had no interest in business. For so many years, eldest brother had been the one managing the Qin group alone. Yes, if you have any grievances, tell eldest brother. Mrs. Qin could not help but laugh. Your eldest brother looks cold to everyone. But Jiao, you know very well that eldest brother will grant your every request. A strange glint flashed past Qin Yojiao's eyes and she tugged at Mrs. Qin and said coquettishly, so, I like eldest brother the most. After what she did to Bei Yunj this time, Mr. Qin had already started to suspect her. Fortunately, when Mr. Qin saw her run out crying, he had already dispelled his suspicions and even felt guilty. In the evening, the moment Bei Yunj returned, she saw the man sitting on the sofa. Brother. Bei Yunj called out and was about to go upstairs to take a shower. Who knew? The man put out the cigarette casually and suddenly looked up, saying slowly, Yun, older brother has something to discuss with you. However, Bei Yunj looked at the handsome and dignified man in front of her and remembered how this man had looked when he was bursting with desire last time. What's wrong? Bei Yunj still walked towards him, deliberately not looking into his eyes. Why were you angry last time? Huashidu's gaze landed on Bei Yunj unwaveringly. His tone was casual as he dragged out his words. Did older brother bully you? These words were clearly very normal. However, when he said this, it inexplicably became ambiguous and made her face turn red. Bei Yunj thought of what this man had said to her in the closet and smiled. Yes. Older brother, you're very good at bullying people. At this moment, Huashidu didn't think about anything else. After all, he had drunk too much in the past and did not have the habit of touching girls. Then let me apologize to you. Yunyun, don't take it to heart, okay? Huashidu's thin red lips curled up and he bent down to look at her at eye level. His tone was natural and intimate as he coaxed her. This man had always been very good to her and even took special care of her feelings. But for some reason, Biyao was not very happy when she saw that this man could not remember anything at all. Were you drunk last time? What happened? Biyao asked. That night, when she was drying Huashidu's hair, she felt that his body was cold. Those who didn't know better would think that he had taken a cold shower. The corners of Huashidu's lips curled up slightly. His posture was lazy and frivolous. He reached out carelessly and gently rubbed her cheek. Yes, Big Brother accidentally drank a little. Are you in a bad mood? Biyao glanced at him and an indescribable feeling rose in her heart. In her heart, this man was what others called a flower on top of a mountain. He would get whatever he wanted. How could he not be happy? That's not the reason, but I'm indeed not too happy. Huashida's low and magnetic laughter flowed out as his throat moved. The next moment, he scratched the girl's chin again. But next time, older brother will come back earlier. Chapter 251. The man's pale-colored and abstinent eyes turned gentle. His seductive low voice could easily tickle one's eardrums. Brother will be happy when he looks at Yunyun. Wasn't this man apologizing just now? Huashida's eyes darkened when he saw the little girl's bright black eyes staring at him with an inexplicable emotion. Then, he let out a long laugh. His deep and magnetic voice seemed to be deliberately seductive. Yunyun, don't look at me like that. Brother can't handle it. Biyao, the next time this man drank, she would definitely record it. She would let him see clearly who was the one who couldn't handle it. Seeing that Biyao's expression was awkward again, Huashidu said, then I'll promise Yunyun one thing. How about that? I don't want to go to school anymore. Biyao said this almost without thinking. Who would have thought? Huashidu looked at her for a while and only laughed. His posture was seductive and ostentatious. Sure, then Yunyun will come over early and manage the company for brother. Biyao, ? Was this what a qualified domineering CEO would say? Biyao's beautiful eyes twitched. What about you? Brother, just serve our Yunyun. The man casually played with the silver lighter on his phone. His low and magnetic laughter was light and lazy. His gaze was straight and lustful. It made one's heart beat wildly. Biyao, he was no longer treating her as a younger sister. It was more like he was raising her as a daughter. Be obedient. Come down and do your homework later. Brother will teach you, he said. Biyao was about to scold him in her heart when she suddenly felt the man's half-smiling gaze. Brother, weren't you apologizing to me just now? Biyao asked. Why did it become him supervising her homework in the end? Yes, I forgot to ask Yunyun, how did I bully you? Huashidu remembered that when he drank too much in the past, he would at most go to bed early. For a moment, Biyao was a little silent. When Huashidu saw this, he suddenly sensed the little girl's abnormality. Huashidu's throat bobbed. Yunyun, brother took away my pen the moment he saw me. Biyao glanced at him. Because of this? The man licked his thin red lips. His low and hoarse laughter was sexy and pleasing to the ear. He was a little surprised that he would do something like this in his unconscious state. He was also surprised that Biyao had argued with him for so long because of this. Looking at the man's calm expression, Biyao suddenly laughed. Her clear eyes looked harmless. I asked my brother if he could lift up his shirt and show it to me. My brother said that he would only show it to me when we entered the room. Huashidu felt that these words did not sound like something he would say, but the young lady had indeed been awkward for 2 days. The man looked at Bei Yunj and thought. Brother, don't tell me you've forgotten everything you've done? Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows and said with a smile. Suddenly, Huashidu laughed again. His dark and unreadable gaze landed on her. Then does Yunyan still want to see it? Bei Yunj's smile froze. Question mark. It's okay. Although Yunyan's preferences are special, it's quite embarrassing. Huashidu casually threw the silver lighter on the sofa, not caring much. Brother? Bei Yunj suddenly had a bad feeling. Then, before Bei Yunj could speak, the man had already taken off his tie. His lazy and playful voice was frivolous and straightforward. Chapter 252. There's no need to explain. I'll try my best to satisfy Yunyan. She had never seen the man's figure, but the last time in the wardrobe, it felt firm and hard. However, when the man was wearing a shirt, it did not show and only made people feel that he was refined and dignified. Brother. Bei Yunj grabbed the man's cold hand and looked up. Should I do my homework? I think so. The man's pale-colored eyes could not hide the smile in them. I'll go take a shower first and go downstairs to do my homework. With that said, Bei Yunj immediately went upstairs. Seeing this, the man chuckled. His upturned eyes were charming and his posture was light and lazy. The little girl was so easily angered. How could she let him lift his shirt? Ever since she knew that Qin Luyan was coming back, Qin Youjiao seemed to have become bolder. In the live stream, when Qin Youjiao was chatting with a small celebrity she had just met, she inadvertently led the small celebrity to talk about Bei Yunj. It caused a lot of discussion. However, at the same time, the entire internet was very interested in Bei Yunj, who had never appeared before. After being talked about for so long, she was either scared or too lazy to care. No one thought that Bei Yunj would be the former. However, everyone felt that if Bei Yunj appeared in the public eye, the scene would definitely be exciting and fresh. Before the crowd could calm down, they saw someone coming down personally to tear Qin Youjiao apart. You man ran, your father Pei is a brick. He will move wherever he is needed. Heartbroken, with this post, many netizens discussed fervently. Ha 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 ha. Sister man, what's wrong with you? Do you know Bei Yunj? Daddy Pei. Sister man, are you still the big boss of the industry I know? Work harder, you're number one. Dog head, no wonder artistes can never be seen in public. They like to suck up to rich people. Let me take a look. Which sour chicken is this again? Can't you stand properly on the streets? You're being blind again. Everyone in the industry understood this kind of hype. Qin Yu naturally knew that once he replied, he would be trying to gain popularity for Qin Youjiao. If he didn't reply, she would think that he had acquiesced to Qin Youjiao's relationship. Therefore, at the end of the month, Qin Yu had sent lawyers' letters to nearly 30 netizens, including the small celebrity who had Bei Yunj in the live stream. This move shocked everyone. After all, when Qin Yu had just entered the industry, there had been a huge commotion, but she had never seen him send a lawyer's letter in a stack, as expected of Qin Yu, the crazy sister control maniac. Seeing these dozens of lawyers' letters and Yu Manran publicly attacking her, Qin Youjiao was so angry that her face turned green. However, what surprised Qin Youjiao even more was that she received a call from her manager. Jiao Jiao, there's a problem with our company. We're having a hard time with cash flow, and we're being held back by someone. We might not be able to last for more than 2 months. Hearing this, Qin Youjiao's face paled. What? Qin Youjiao clenched her fists tightly. If this news got out, she would definitely be the first to be laughed at. When she signed with her second brother's studio back then, she had been eliminated in the first round. Now that she had finally signed with a good company, such a thing actually happened. Why did this happen? Qin Youjiao took a deep breath. Her manager was also very busy. I think I offended someone. Jiao Jiao, do you know the Hua Corporation? In an instant, Qin Youjiao's face paled. Her mind was in a mess and she couldn't hear what her manager was saying at all. Jiao? Are you listening to me? You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.